We are live, Madam Chair.
Excellent, thank you. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Board of Selectmen for Monday, June 20th. Mr. Clerk, would you lead us in the Pledge of Flag?
Absolutely. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing. Please be advised that the Massachusetts Governor Charlie Baker has ordered that the United States flag and the Commonwealth flag be lowered to half-staff at all state buildings from sunrise until sunset on Saturday, June 18th, 2016, in honor of SPC Bernardino Guevara Jr., United States Army of Roxbury, Mass., who passed away on June 6, 2016. Moment of silence, please. Thank you. All right, agenda for this evening, 6:30, organization, pledge of allegiance, read mail. 6:35, 2 open space and recreation updates. First one up is the open space and recreation plan. Second is open space properties. 7 p.m. public input, members updates. 7:05, Bennett Orchard subdivision, chapter 61A notices waiver requests. 7:20, annual town board appointments, several boards here: Agricultural Commission, Clean Lakes, Cultural Council, Finance Committee, Historical Commission, PMBC, ZBA. 7:50, Permanent Municipal Building Committee facility updates, including the fire station and alumni field. If we do have the rest of our board here, which is a possibility, Selectman DeCoste and Selectman Knox are at 8th grade graduation. If 8th grade graduation is done and they're back in time, we will do our preliminary goal setting exercise at 8:20. If not, we'll skip that item and push it to the next agenda. 8:50, 2 topics under town administrator / assistant town administrator for finance and budget. And first one up is highway supervisor / engineer staffing vacancy. Second one is the Littleton MBTA commuter rail station parking expansion discussion. 9 p.m. other business minutes approval, and at 9:10 we'll go into executive session for collective bargaining strategy, police union. All right, did we have any mail?
Nothing in the mail packet. Things that we got found their way into agenda items, so we'll take them up one by one.
Okay, very good. So that brings us to 2A.
I think they're going to start writing us in the new year right now, in the new fiscal year.
Yeah, because we're not going to have another meeting, so you're probably correct.
Okay, open space and recreation plan. First one up is the update on the open space and recreation plan. I'm in updates.
And we have Andrew Samarco, our chair of the Open Space and Recreation Plan Implementation Committee. Come on up front. Sit closer.
Yeah.
Closer.
Come on up, guys. Come on up. Say hello. We want to see you all. Thank you for all your work.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So a lot of good work being done in open space and recreation plan. I don't know if you guys have anything to share, if you just want to kind of give us an overview.
I thought I'd put this up as a backdrop as your proposed action plan. Mm-hmm. And I know, just as background, we could say that in the last time the town had an approved open space and recreation plan was in 2009. They're only good for 5 years. They have to be approved by a state agency. They're good for 5 years, and part of the good that comes from it is that you're eligible to apply for competitive grant applications for open space and recreation projects. So since we're looking to be able to apply for such a grant this year, we wanted to make sure that the plan got updated. So the committee's been very busy, really now for the last couple of years, to bring it to the next iteration. About a year ago, we, at the committee's request, we requested and obtained technical assistance funding from the Metropolitan Area Planning Council to help not only with the mapping, but also with the finalizing the report. We've had 2 public forums over the last year. One was last summer that was specifically focused on recreation, since that had been an area that we wanted to make sure was as well represented in the plan as open space has always been. And the other was a public forum that we had just within the last month or two to finalize what the proposed goals and objectives of the plan are. So we have a draft plan. We're making it available on the website. We'll have the links up. And the goal is to have the plan be finalized and to have the Board of Selectmen vote to submit the plan to the state. They will accept the plan by the application deadline for the grant application, which is July 13th. If there are changes to be made in the plan once submitted, then I'm told we have a year to do that. We have until 2017 to make changes in the plan. So the key would be to get the draft plan in to the state so that we can claim our eligibility for grant funding. And it was my suggestion that the committee meet to review the final plan, which you did last week, and then to come here tonight and then to have this board schedule a public hearing on the plan, which we could hold at our next meeting on July 11th, just a couple of days before the deadline. So procedurally, that's where we are, but I know there's an awful lot in the plan that is of great interest to everybody.
So, if I may, Madam Chair? So when you had two open public forums. Well, I know one was very well attended down at the police station, the most recent one. What was the loudest concerns that you had to hear?
Do you want me to?
Sure.
So, my name's Peter Church. So I was involved in the 2003 plan and the 2009 plan. One of the things that's substantially changed in this plan is, as Keith had mentioned, an added emphasis on recreation. I think we've all heard loud and clear that there is a need for more recreational opportunities in Littleton, and that's one of the things that we heard loud and clear at the public meeting.
And I also, I think it was probably 10 years ago, we had the historic district we tried to go through town meeting, and it didn't pass. I mean, I see it as a priority in one of your action plans. What was the discussion in regards to that district?
So the Historical Commission has actually been looking into this as of late, maybe the past couple months.
Okay.
This district probably wouldn't include all the things that the one proposed 10 years ago would. I think it would mainly focus on like Foster Street and that area. But yeah, that board is definitely looking into that. I think it'd be a very wonderful thing. But.
Yeah. Because that was that's a zoning change too, right? I mean, that's a town meeting.
Well, it's a town meeting vote. It's
Vote.
not zoning per se, but
No.
I believe it does require a two-thirds vote,
Yeah.
in my recollection, to adopt one.
Interesting, just to see it back up. I don't know if, what your public forums had said about it, or any concerns. I can't remember what the concerns were last time it came before the town.
I think one of the concerns was that it included a lot of the common area, the commercial areas.
I
and that-
gotcha.
Yeah.
I got you. That's all I have, thank you.
So there's one in here, I'm just curious your thoughts on what the role of you guys might be, and it's related to goal number 3, and goal number 3 is exactly what you were just talking about, improved recreational opportunities and greater access to recreation facilities for Littleton residents of all ages, and I think, action 3.1 makes total sense. Create and implement a comprehensive plan for maintenance, repair, and acquisition and/or construction of adequate playing field capacity for town. We've heard that over and over and over again, right? And there's lots of different folks that have a stake in that game. There's people that kind of manage the land, that oversee the land, that use the land, all sorts of different, again, players. So what do you guys see being your role in facilitating that process or being involved in that process? Or are you more just identifying the goal and then it kind of comes back to us and others to figure out how to do it? Just wondered if you thought about the next steps on that one, because we're starting to think about that too, and we all want to be on the same page.
We certainly want to work with all the players to kind of line everything up. Park and Rec, Board of Selectmen, Conservation, in this committee. I think we can definitely be a helping force to get things moving.
Be a glue. Okay, good. And how, so to Keith's point, we have a year to make changes if necessary, and it, it looks pretty good to me. But just curious how you guys feel. Is it drafty at this point? You feel more public input's needed? How firm is it?
I would say it's pretty firm. I mean, we've gotten a lot of public input, and there'll be plenty of time to receive more if needed, depending on how the community reacts to it. But I'm very confident in what we have here.
So, if I might, let me see. I thought it was good, you have like a summary of the major projects. I'm wondering if it's good for the public to hear what came out as the top priorities. I think you reviewed that before as well, though, so I don't know if it makes sense.
Yeah, let me see if I can call up that page here. So this looks like your goals section here.
Maybe page
12.
12. I said 1 of 12.
1 of 12. yeah.
Section 8,
Section-
page 1
section-
of, Section 8,
Section-
goals and objectives, and it's 3 pages.
Section 9, if you go down just a little bit, there's a summary table. So you came out with 9 goals, an action plan behind each goal, and some top projects, which I thought that was a good list.
So are these in, I'm sorry, Madam Chair.
No, please.
These are goal number 1, which happens to be protect and enhance the quality of Littleton's surface and groundwater as a source of drinking water and recreational use. Was that come out to your priority and goal 1?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
they're listed in priority right on down to number 9. Fantastic.
Okay.
I'm more than happy to read them if you like.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right, so I'll read them just so folks can see them. I'm sure this will be on the town website.
Yeah, I've got it, yeah, it will be available on the website.
So just so folks know, and I won't get into the action plans, but we'll at least have an idea of what the goals are. Goal 2 was preserve Littleton's important land resources through land acquisition, conservation restrictions, agriculture preservation restrictions, improved management, and education, which is really, that's a good kick right at the end. Goal 3 is provide improved recreational opportunities and greater access to recreation facilities for Littleton residents of all ages and abilities. Goal number 4, find funding resources outside of taxes for protecting open space or building recreation facilities. Goal number 5, balance development with the preservation of open space to help retain Littleton's rural character. Goal number 6, link Littleton's open spaces and trails both throughout the town and on a regional level, particularly near the shared natural resources. Goal number 7, promote the use of Littleton's open space by residents through developing better access and publicly accessible protected properties by encouraging community participation in open space maintenance. Goal number 8, enhance bicycle and pedestrian access and safety throughout the town. Goal number 9, identify and preserve significant Native American historical and cultural significant sites. And I think, the master plan update committee, the supper they did, a majority of these goals came out through that process too, so it's good to see 2 independent bodies coming up with the like goals.
I have no problem with those 9 goals or the objectives cited below them, but I'm looking through, thinking with a practical mind as to when we get into the business of considering properties or acting proactively, I'm not sure how much other than general guidance is here. I know in a previous iteration of the open space plan, we had an identified axis with water bodies or properties that abutted either, standing water bodies or flowing water bodies across the town in one direction, wildlife corridor in the other direction, and that kind of drove our purchase or protection efforts for, about close to 10 years. And I know there's a lot of mention in here of agricultural property, but I think, we could risk to be even more specific when, when the townspeople speak of it, they, I think, mean pretty specifically the Great Road properties. And, what I think if I were to look for something to add to this, and there's nothing here I particularly object to, I'd like to add items of, that aid in prioritization, because right now, we've got a number of open space potential properties, either for purchase or participating in a protection plan, and there's nothing that guides us as to which's more important than another. It's very easy to say, they're all important, but we are taxed with the job of deciding what in advance we should be advocating to get a hold of before it's available, or when faced with 2 or 3 options, who gets it? Whoever lines up first? Well, that's not usually the best alternative, and you can't do them all. So I wonder whether we can give some attention, either here or in subsequent addendum to the document, on a process for evaluating those traits of it, whether it be location in a general sense, without naming properties by name. I think we can successfully do it without naming, properties by name. And the other thing is a process for being proactive. If you start to know where properties are that meet those criteria, what's the appropriate process for approaching those property owners of determining their, what they intend to do for a disposition, getting a good working relationship so you're not stuck in the position, as we too often are, of waiting for them to walk in the room with the developer in hand, and then you're really just, negotiating with the developer. So that's the part of it that I'd like to see strengthened or added to it. And I don't know if you have any comment on that, I'd be happy to hear it.
It's a very good point. We've had very robust internal discussions on whether we should itemize sort of target acquisitions or target priorities. And in the end, we said that it would probably be better to focus on areas or zones as opposed to identifying
Or even-
Smith property.
Or characteristics of properties that would make them valuable too. Proximity to adjacent properties, that sort of thing. But I don't know, I think just we inevitably, when something comes up, you folks and us working together are going to have to deal with this ad hoc anyway, so we might as well try to come up with some sort of working plan, I would suggest. It can be independent of this document, but we really ought to. But congratulations on all the work you put in here, too.
I think that sounds like something we want to add.
Yeah.
Definitely.
We've been talking about it, as Peter said, and great.
And it's difficult, as you're well aware, we'll often get notice with 120 days at most to respond. In this practical matter, we need to be thinking a lot more quickly than that, and to know which are the priority ones of a list of potential properties that we might want to acquire. We know we can't buy them all, and hopefully everyone else knows that too, so that our expectations aren't too high. But we nevertheless do need a way to prioritize. Even tonight, we've got 3, the very next item, we have 3 projects that, 3 properties that are in the queue. After that, we have 61A properties that we need to decide whether to put them in the queue or cut them loose. And there's an awful lot of guidance that could come from this kind of a document to help that. But I get the point that if, as soon as you put the names in there, then the price goes up. I get that, so.
Has the process been worked out with regard to 61A properties?
Well, I think I was just going to jump on Keith's comments that, that's, I think, got to be part of this, because we need the planning board, we need, all our boards to communicate together so that when somebody does come before the planning board and the property is in 61A, the flag goes up, conservation, all these different boards are notified, so we can all get together and have a joint meeting and say, okay, committees, boards, what do you think we should do with this property as far as the 61A? It's coming before us, and where does it fill on that list?
Yeah, and I would consider it a success when we get to the point where when something drops in your lap, we're already ready for it.
Right.
We've already discussed it, we already have a plan in mind, and we're not surprised by it. But we're certainly not there yet.
But in the case of 61As, you can't help but name names, because they don't have
Right.
names. There they are. We know which properties are in 61A or B or Chapter 61, and so maybe just the process we need to do is on a periodic basis. Maybe it's only once a year, but that would be more frequent than we've
Sure.
ever done it. Just convene all the boards and say, here are the properties that are in 61A and 61B this year. What do you think? Do we have,
Has there been any
a
talk?
pecking
Has there
order?
been any,
Yeah.
has there been any communication with any of the board
And
members?
should,
so that-
should they come up, where would we kind of rank them?
Right.
Right, and for the benefit of all, for the benefit of the boards, the town, so that we're not passing on an opportunity that's important, but also so that we can promptly give an answer to the property owner if it's not something that we're interested in, so. But, and I think in that case specifically, where it's okay to name names, I think it would be all right because.
You're talking about
because
everybody.
because each property that's in 61A has a name.
Name attached to it.
And, you know, and that at least from that finite universe, that we could be clearly establishing what our priorities, what our acquisition priorities are, one way or another, so.
So what's the next step in making that happen?
I think that if it's not in there specifically, I think we could offer an edit to the plan so that and I'm not certain what the recommendation is on 61 per se. I'd have to take a look at it, but I think.
I was gonna make it one of
Close to
my
us.
suggestions for the
Yeah.
goals, establishing
There
that
you go.
process would be
Yeah.
one of them anyway,
Yeah.
There you go.
even prior to this discussion.
Yeah, and we could, I mean, we could have the consultant put something in there in the draft plan that with your permission, to have that in the draft plan that's in front of the board and the public hearing on the 11th of July. So I think that would be a great, do a
Addition.
great service to everybody.
Sounds good. Anything else you guys would like to share with us?
Good. I guess we're all set.
Okay, any other questions? Good.
You know, the discussion of the open space properties, we assume you're hanging around for,
Yeah, stay tuned. Yeah, we may ask for your advice.
Roll right into that. Ready?
Yes.
Move that the Board of Selectmen vote to schedule a public hearing on Monday, July 11, 2016, at 7:30 PM on the proposed open space and recreation plan prepared by the Open Space and Recreation Plan Implementation Committee with assistance from the Metropolitan Area Planning Council for submission of said plan to the Division of Conservation Services.
second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And I have to aye. All right, thank you guys very much. Great job. All right, open space again, and now we're on the Joyce Williams property, Boxborough Road, and the Paul and Edith Smith property would come, oh yeah, and the MassDOT surplus property on Boxborough. We got three.
Okay, so no action requested tonight, but just to give you an update on those three properties, and I'm going to try to surf up something to put up on the screen here for location. We have we've been talking about the Joyce Williams property since this winter, when Ms. Williams was here in the room with us, and we were glad to see her because we don't always get to see a property owner who wants to offer us their property, and we appreciate getting first dibs on that, and thank you to Rick Finley for getting her here. So what we had identified in those earlier discussions is that rather than bring that acquisition to a May 2016 meeting, that we could plan to bring it to the November town meeting, but still have the opportunity to submit a land grant application in July. And that we could, in the meantime, take care of the matter of getting appraisals for the property, and also we've identified the need to get a survey of the property so that we are in agreement on what the acreage is and what portion of that acreage the town of Littleton would be offered. So the survey is being done. We have the appraisers lined up, and we'll be having some further conversations about how to configure that property, and then bring it forward for a vote on the 11th of July for the Board of Selectmen to authorize submission of the land grant application. Ms. Williams has indicated her willingness to cover all of these pre-acquisition expenses that are being incurred. In fact, she's put up $10,000 herself towards the $16,000 survey cost, and has agreed to cover the appraisal costs also if we ultimately acquire the property. So we're looking at proceeding with that in time for the 11th of July. What we are also dealing with is a piece of property that's right across the street from this property. There's a 5-acre surplus property owned by the Mass Department of Transportation, which they were prepared to put out for bids, and the board, at the request of the Conservation Commission, has asked for the opportunity for the town to acquire the property at our November town meeting, and Mass DOT has responded that yes, we will be given that opportunity to acquire it. It's not like the old days where surplus state property is given away to cities and towns. I remember that. They don't do it anymore, or the current administration does not, and so they would be looking to sell it to the town for fair market value. So that is, we believe that is going to be around $200,000 for that property. And I'm just going to do a locus of these two properties that we're talking about. So we're looking at bringing both of those parcels on Boxborough Road, on either side of Boxborough Road, to the November town meeting. And I'll just put up here the configuration. This is the Joyce Williams property here. It's the back acres that that she is willing to sell the town. We're looking at having it configured so that there's some access, even if it's just a strip, onto Boxborough Road for the sake of public access. We're also looking at this property down below. Let me see if I can figure out how to add it. There, okay, that one is owned by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and that is a 5-acre parcel, and there are a number of town-owned properties that are, let's see if I've got those town-owned land, which are nearby, so that's good. And so if we would be acquiring a portion of this parcel, and it continues on down across the street and ever onward, we've got a plan. So that's what we're looking at for Boxborough Road. I don't know if I left anything out, Rick, from...
No, I think there are existing trails that go through the DOT property that go to the gas line, which we are going to implement for getting to the station for a bike trail to the station. So it all sort of works together very well. And that's existing pasture land, the DOT land. There's old-time pasture land, so that's the agricultural nature of that corner of town would be preserved with that purchase. So I think it's well worth the $200,000.
Keith, just to clarify.
Yes.
Could you introduce yourself and say your address?
Veras for Newtown Road. What is that? Because I would think if I saw that on TV, I'd think that certainly isn't town property, but what is it?
What is what?
All that 10.
That's town-owned property.
That is, town forest and other things.
Doesn't include 61A.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't include. It's town-owned land.
It's Newtown Hill.
Primarily.
And just
just take it out to just for perspective, all those tan areas are town-owned
Okay.
properties,
thank you.
not including 61, it's not included, because we don't own those.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions on those two then?
So those are both in process, they're on our radar screens, and I'm not sure where they are in the prioritization in the open space plan, but they are, it's a practical matter, I think they're at the top of our list, because they're the ones that are in the queue to go to town meeting in November. A working number, we've said publicly before that the Joyce Williams property, that the 60-acre, if it's 40 acres of a total 60-acre parcel, that could be $2 million. We don't know what it is yet. We are working on that through this survey. We had the glitch where our GIS equipment, it thinks it's 45 acres. The deeds say it's 60 acres. We really have no desire to cover 15-acre spread, which is about $850,000. So we want to finalize what the acreage is and then do a deal based on the real numbers.
Well, we are looking for real numbers, but I don't think it will be 2 million, just judging from the way we've laid it out, I think with 5 lots, is that right? Probably won't go that high.
Yeah, if we get it down, if we can do it with what we've come up with, Maran has come up with a draft 5-lot subdivision, which would make it manageable for the town. I hope that's manageable for the seller, so, and we will be working on that.
Okay, very good.
Then, the next thing that we wanted to make sure was on our radar screen was the Smith property on Whitcomb Avenue. And I was going to see if I'll search for it here. We had received an inquiry or received the information through REC that the property was available. It is overall a 60-acre parcel, and I see obstructed view. See, Ray Lyons is here tonight representing the seller. Welcome back, Ray. And that there's, when this issue came up, the issue of this property came up at a finance committee meeting when we were trying to get a reserve fund transfer for the Joyce Williams appraisal. And the question was, well, tell us more about the Smith property. And since there was more that we needed to find out, we had a fact-finding meeting about a week or so ago, and we did, Ray Lyons was kind enough also to take us on a quick tour of the property. And what we want to bring back is the following: that the property is it's available to the town for sale. It's in general number 60 acres.
Just over 60.
And that a significant portion of those acres are protected by conservation restrictions currently. There's no ownership by the town, and there's no deeded access rights in those existing conservation restrictions. So the opportunity for the town to purchase the property would address the access issue, which is right now not met by not owning it and only having conservation restrictions. There is a 1.5 acre portion of the overall parcel which has a dwelling on it.
Approximately, yeah.
Approximately 1.5 acres. And it's an older house. I have to say, it didn't strike me that there would be uses for it for the town to acquire it if we want to, say, to put affordable housing in it. I think that there might be some there might be a higher priority of how you could spend your housing dollar to acquire property for that purpose, rather than having an older parcel property that was building that was just out at a far distance from other properties. But in any event, from the standpoint of timing, it's been offered that if the town wanted to consider acquiring the property in May of 2017, that is at the next annual town meeting, and apply for a land grant next year, as well as for the Smith property, in addition to applying for one this year for the Williams property, that the seller would be amenable to that under certain circumstances, including hearing sooner rather than later, much sooner, I will say, I'll underscore, that the town is actually interested in buying the property, and therefore it would be worth the seller's while to wait. If you don't want to buy it, that's one of those things that we could send the signal right away. We could send that sooner rather than later. And one of the strategies that the seller had for being able to wait was if they could sell the, say, 1.5 acre parcel, including the dwelling, as a private sale, and have that not be part of the deal with the town, then that would address some immediate needs that the seller has. But in order to be able to at least have a discussion about that, or to take it into consideration, the suggestion that I said I bring forward was to, in the next month or so, perhaps convene a meeting of all interested boards, have a joint site inspection, take a look at it, and see if it's a property that the town wishes to be able to pursue or not. If not, we can send a prompt signal that, the CRs are good enough, the conservation restriction is enough, and appreciate Attorney Lyons being here representing the seller tonight.
Thanks for that
Yeah.
update.
Ray?
Madam Chairman, there's already people expressing interest in the property, so to talk to Selectman Glavy's comments about prioritization, in fairness to the family, we are looking to find out whether the town is truly interested in the property, and would appreciate your objective thoughts. Thank you.
Absolutely. Rick?
Thank you. I just wanted to say, this is, the town would be buying 2 lots and getting 60 acres for the price of 2 lots. And if we were to purchase that, next to that in Harvard is another 60-acre parcel. Actually, it's more than that, I think. That we would be getting access to. So we'd be creating perhaps one of the, if not the biggest, conservation land in town with the purchase of 2 house lots. And so the family has already basically kicked in for 80% of the development value by giving that to the Conservation Trust. So this is a very inexpensive purchase for a major, beautiful, by the way, beautiful conservation land.
Big bang for the buck. Appreciate that context.
Has the trust considered purchasing the 2-lot value?
We unfortunately don't have the money.
A lot of trusts do participate financially.
Sure, but a lot of the small,
Yeah.
the rural land trusts don't, like ours.
So I like Keith's suggestion to get us out there.
Yeah.
Get us all together, get us out there.
Bring the Open Space Committee back
Yep.
together, get the Conservation Commission, and
Community Preservation
Community Preservation Committee, and have a joint meeting. I think it's a good
Finance
idea.
committee.
Finance Committee. Put it on the 11th, it's filling up quick.
Yeah, I think we probably need to schedule a special meeting
On that
for
one?
that, on that
Specific.
topic. Maybe
We're
late.
talking about a site walk anyway.
Yeah, site walk, yeah. Late afternoon, we could
Stays late until 8
Yeah, it
o'clock.
stays late. We
sounds
can go
good.
after
Yeah.
work even better.
After work is good.
Yes,
I'll have to work.
let's do that.
So
And
maybe
we-
like a 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
That'd be brilliant, yes.
We'll choose a 6 o'clock time that's someday in July that's convenient for all of those boards and committees. Great.
That's fantastic, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Certainly understand that wanting to know sooner rather than later, so we'll get that going. Okay, thank you. That
Thank you.
closes out open space and recreation. All right, public input. Next up, public input. Chief?
Madam Chair, just want to remind the board about the Veterans Breakfast Wednesday morning, 8 o'clock. Realize it's during work for you, but if anyone is around, you want to stop in, please feel free. Both police, fire, it's combined Veterans Breakfast will be the last one, and they'll resume again in September on a monthly basis. So if you can't make this one, kickoff will be back in September, and I'll remind you. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? Board members?
I really don't have anything today. I'm good.
That works.
Well, since we last met, I was able to participate, as a lot of us were, in 3 terrific events for the town. One was the Zero Waste Day sponsored by our Sustainability Committee at the high school, and that was a great success on Saturday the 11th. And on the 13th, we had a tremendous turnout for our master plan public forum, which really gets that process off the ground in a good direction. And then most recently, this past Thursday, we had our third Thursday of the summer, and that kicked things off nicely, and good weather didn't hurt either. So we're off to a good summer.
Indeed. From my side, I'll just add on to it. We've had a very busy week, actually. So we also had 3 ribbon cutting ceremonies, actually. So one was the DCU, the other was the Marriott grand opening, and the last one was Potpourri, the new call center / warehouse down by FIPA. So congratulations to all those businesses. Welcome to town. Very exciting week, and I know we'll have more to come. I mentioned this earlier, but for those who just joined, tonight is 8th grade graduation. So Selectmen DeCoste and Selectmen Knox are at 8th grade graduation, and will try to join us if that gets out early enough. And I think that is all I had. Yeah, that's all I have. All right, so that brings us to number 4. Bennett Orchard Subdivision, Chapter 61A notices. All right. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good to see you again.
This is George Sanderson. He's one of the members of the family that has owned the property for 300 years or so.
Oh, great. Welcome. All right, so Keith, what's the best way to have this?
We had a meeting, we had a meeting with the developer, your representative, Paul, and we had a brief discussion as to the whole 61A right of first refusal. I think part of the discussion, we heard loud and clear, we were seeing if we could get some affordable housing. The developer said, not gonna go. There were a couple conditions on the property, one being that the open space will be turned over to the town after construction of the development. So we offered, if the developer will turn that property over immediately, that's something we would consider. And then we asked for some parking, which I did not see in town council's report. Paul, I know we had that meeting, talked about it. We didn't hear any negativity about it with your developers, but.
Council called me late this evening, and I conferred with him, and I also conferred with the purchasers, because they're part of this process as well. We have contracts to sell the property to them, so I spoke with them. And in essence, they said, no problem providing parking if we're talking about 2-3 spaces within 30 feet of Oak Hill Road, that's fine. If we're talking about something more substantive, we'd have to review it, design it, price it, that sort of thing. But if it's something as straightforward as that, that's fine.
Yeah, I think, when we talk about the properties in town that we have parking, a six spots would be sufficient for that area. They're right off Oak Road, they would work fine. So if you need to go back to tonight, we really don't have to make the decision. You know, I know town council, as you said, did speak with you. If we can agendarize it and, you know, or, you know, I don't know if you want to do it with a full board, if you want to make a vote tonight based on what we have with council saying that the developers will give a 6 parking spots off of Oak Road, maybe with the contingency that you and town council work it out and develop a strategy and document that we can all agree upon? I'm asking the board members, you know, I don't know, Paul, what do you think? I mean,
I don't mind having a smaller group look
yeah,
at it.
okay, all right, so we can do that.
To your point, the parking's good to
And the
make sure.
parking, yeah, go ahead.
Just so that I understand, we have no problem with 3 beyond that. The contractor told us that that would require some engineering, you know, some cost analysis to figure out what it cost, and they didn't want to commit, and I haven't had a chance to discuss with all the Sandersons the prospect of a larger project. Keep in mind, this is going to be on town property.
Yep.
The town's going to own this property. I'm also a little sensitive to the fact that this property was supposed to be set aside as open space, and it was part of what was discussed as a way for wildlife, you know, to travel through the property. So when we were talking about parking, I thought we were talking about 2 or 3 spaces. I can't agree to 6 today because I don't have authorization from the buyers. So, you know, if we're talking about 2 or 3, done deal. More than that, I have to go back and talk to them all, and we have to figure out how much it would cost.
I mean, I think that, you know, you got house lots on both sides. I'd like to see at least the 6, but.
And there is parking provided on the opposite side, off the Sanderson Road, on the 3 lots that aren't part of this process right now. The plan depicts a parking lot at that property, because during the planning process, that was where the parking was anticipated to be. So it isn't as if this will end up being the only parking for the entire open space parcel, which is being donated. There is another other parking space that's one of the conditions of approval.
You have, it's not shown on the plan, I guess we don't see it, that's why.
Sure. Can I approach the bench?
So the three lots that were, I guess, held in abeyance, so to speak, they are going up for sale and they will be developed eventually.
Well, not necessarily. The reason that they're not on the market now is that in working all this out with the planning board, they requested that we not put them on the market because during the hearing process, there was some interest in the part of town groups that perhaps a trust or some other entity would be interested in preserving that land and using it for farmland down the road. And they wanted plenty of time to get the coordination together, talk to people in town, see if they could raise money. And so they wanted us to stand down and not put them on the market yet, with the opportunity that those lots may be acquired by the trust or by some other group or by the town. These are the 3 lots that we're talking about.
Yep.
And there's, 1, 2, 3, 4 parking spaces that would be constructed off of the Allen Road parking area.
So that's,
The front driveway.
whether somebody buys it or the houses are constructed, there will be 4 there on that side.
Well, that would be up to, you know, whoever buys that property. If it gets developed, if it's purchased for purposes of developing homes, certainly the parking lot would be there. But if it's not developed, that would be up to whoever ultimately buys it. But again, that's a whole nother 61A process.
Yeah.
That's another day if we put it on the market, or we'd have to give you notice, unless the town said, we're gonna purchase the property, and then there's really no issue.
Where was the other parking you mentioned?
The parking that we've been asked about today is down here.
Okay.
It's down off of Oak Hill Road. It's on the open space from Oak Hill Road. And the concern is that when you get to that part of Oak Hill Road, there's a significant drop-off, and we're gonna have to put in fill in order to put even, 2, 3 parking spaces there. But to go deeper than that, now maybe you need to
I mean,
hire an engineer.
based on your drawing, it doesn't look, for the 4 spots, it doesn't look that.
Over here?
Yeah.
Oh, over here, that's no problem.
Yeah, okay.
That will happen.
So when is the decision gonna be made on those 3 lots?
We have no immediate plans because we wanted to give the town
Okay.
plenty of time. We felt that there were people that were working behind the scenes, trying to generate support to come up with revenue somehow. And we have no foreseeable plans to do anything with it.
Okay.
Any further questions?
No, I don't have any.
So with those 4, we still think 6 are here?
No, well, we're not knowing what those 3 lots are gonna be,
Yeah, it's a question mark.
when, where and when, and, I mean, they wanna get going on this subdivision ASAP.
Yeah.
Is there any reason we can't vote to waive the right of first refusal? I mean, our main interest in waiting was, we wanted to make sure we weren't gonna find out after the fact that there was a groundswell for the specific properties, and the lots being asked for here.
Well, again, I got no problem with waiving it, if we have, something negotiated with town council and council of the developers, because it's really not Paul responsible for it, it'll be the purchasers that'll be responsible, and they're not here tonight.
Well, I spoke to Peter DeCarolis, and I
Okay.
spoke with Mark Shire, who represents Mark Gallagher, and Peter DeCarolis is the primary person.
Gotcha.
And again, he's on board for 2-3 lots. And he's the one who said, if we go deeper than that, we're gonna need engineers, we're gonna need some math.
Spots, not lots, right?
Yeah,
just
spots. Thank you, Paul. Yeah, if we go with more than 3 spots, we would have to do some
I
engineering.
mean, the width of this, is what, 35 feet? I believe it is, or 40 feet? I'm just thinking 3 on each side, Paul, that's all. So the depth is gonna be as if it was 3. I think it was 40 feet. Which is plenty of access, swing in and swing out.
111.23 feet wide.
So, even better. So 3 cars deep, right and left side, boom. So you're not really going into the, as you were saying, fill in.
Well, it's still the slope, and
Yeah, there's still slope,
They're
and there's
putting houses
also
on both
the
sides.
AT&T
Look
easement
at-
there.
Look at what they're filling in,
I
yeah.
don't want to advertise that we can put the parking on top of the AT&T easement, but, we
We're
have
not
to
looking
find
for
out.
paving or anything like that. We wouldn't be looking for any type of paving or anything.
Oh, we
Just
were
a-
anticipating would pave it.
No, I'd just say a dirt parking lot.
All right.
That's all we're looking for, so. If you think that, we can work something out,
Yeah, if it's not paved, I think it provides us a certain amount of additional flexibility, and we could probably get another space or 2 in there. Right, But,
6-pack.
I've never operated a bulldozer, so I don't know exactly what's required. I just know what Peter DeCarolis told me, and I'm just trying to be cautious.
I got you.
That I don't give away the, you can't do that.
Yeah. So do you think you can get back to town council and work this out?
All right, I'm working out that, how many spaces do you need?
6.
Six
six
spaces?
in an unpaved lot.
Yep.
6 and unpaved lot. I'm sure I could get back to him and do my best to work things out with the buyers and with the family and figure out that can be done.
As you said, Paul, I mean,
We can make a vote
You
predicated on that.
could take a condition, you could take a vote tonight, and you would want to add subject to approval as to form by town council, and that'll be enough to have them work out the deal.
Okay with that, Jim?
yeah, I'm fine.
The only other question that we may or may not want to address, is there a date by which the open space property would be conveyed to the town?
We anticipate that, like I said, the buyer asked me to bring the question to the town.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't want to bring it to the town while we're dealing with 61A.
Yeah.
That gives it, well, what's the question? And want to make sure we're clear what we're doing. So I anticipate that after the property is released from 61A, the next letter you're going to get from me is, can you kindly place an article on the warrant for acceptance of the open space? That's what I was asked to do a couple weeks ago, and I said, I just want to wait until the 61A is
But
done.
it's for open space, right, so we can have we don't need a town meeting, we can have the Conservation Commission do it with the selectmen's approval.
Is that right?
But we could fold that into this.
So, this whole thing, so the add-on would be subject to the approval by town council for 6 spots, 6 parking spots, and conveyance of open space immediately.
For the 6, we may want a site location on the 6 spots between lot 2 and 3 on Oak Hill Road.
All right, 6 spots,
6 unpaved.
6, what is it, lot what?
Unpaved, yeah.
2 and
Lots 2 and 3 on Oak Hill Road.
Lots 2 and 3 on Oak Road.
On lots 2 and 3 on Oak Hill Road.
Yep,
Between them, I guess.
yeah, between them.
Okay.
And what did you say, subject to review?
So,
by
yeah,
council?
yeah, subject to approval as to
approval.
form by town council.
Of form.
That we don't have to wait till July 11th. We can just
Great,
get it done.
good.
All right,
Get someplace
ready?
to be.
I could hear the
There's
meter,
someplace else to be.
I could hear the meter.
Bob Marie?
You got a
You ready?
motion to make?
I got it. You
Yeah,
ready?
go
You
right
all
ahead.
set?
Yeah.
All right, move that the Board of Selectmen vote to execute the town's right of first refusal under Mass General.
Not
Not to exercise.
If you're
Not-
gonna read it correctly.
All right, not to exercise, oh jeez, Freudian slip. Not to exercise the town's right of first refusal under Mass General Law, Chapter 61A, subsection 14, to acquire lots 3, 4, and 5, Oak Hill Road totaling 3.35 acres for a bona fide offer of $600,000, and not to acquire lots 8 through 28 Edward Drive and open space parcel A totaling 28.52 acres for a bona fide offer of $3,675,000. All shown on definitive subdivision plan for Bennett Orchard, Oak Hill Road, and Wickham Ave, and Sanderson Road. And provide further that the seller developer convey the 19.2 acres open space parcel A to the town, subject to approval of form by town council for 6 parking spots between lots 2 and 3 on Oak Hill Road, and the conveyance of the open space immediately.
Unpaved, you should have.
Unpaved parking spots.
Second.
So moved in second, all those in favor say aye.
You get all that, Keith?
Yes, I did. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your cooperation, and thank you for listening to our concerns.
Thank you.
And thank you for
And
all your
thanks
work
for the
on that.
19.2 acres.
Sure. So you're welcome. I'm sorry.
Thank you very much.
All right, that brings us to item number 5, annual town board appointments. We have a number of boards here. First up is Agricultural Commission, so let's see, who we have. Quite a few. Anyone that's here for AgCom, if you want to come in the front row, if we have anyone.
Is that you?
First, you were out there somewhere.
Andrew can just stay here because he's on so many boards that we have to interview for.
And Christine Nordhaus. Okay. And finally, Jamie Cruz. Okay, Andrew, new face, tell
Just
us
to
a
be
little bit
clear,
about
Madam Chair,
yourself.
we have 3 applicants but 4 vacancies, is that right?
3 vacancies.
There's 3 vacancies? All right.
One for one. Yeah.
Jamie and Andrew are
It
existing.
said earlier that there were 4 vacancies, but did we already fill one?
For agriculture?
Yeah, right on the first page there. So, page 101, Agriculture Commission 4 members, term expiring.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, there it is, the ad said that.
Page 3.
Okay. Great.
And 2 is stepping off, is that right?
1 member is.
Okay. Right.
So two reappointments, and Christine.
Christine, next year, Paul.
She did, yeah, back in November.
And
We actually didn't get a quorum together for the meeting last week.
so what did the commission think of Christine?
Oh, we liked her. She's a very fine citizen of the town. We think that well, I think that she would be a good fit. I can't speak for the board, but
That's helpful, though.
And you would maintain having at least 4 farmers on the board because William Pickett currently does not have one of those designations, but he is a farmer.
yeah.
And that's a stipulation of our bylaw, correct? That there be 4 farmers, minimum?
Yeah, at least 4. Being a farmer doesn't prohibit an
No,
applicant
no.
from the other spots on the committee.
And you're back in, Andrew.
I'm back in.
Thank you for your time, thank you for your commitment to the town.
Not a problem.
Yeah, Paul, you got this one.
Okay. But I would, I don't really have any questions other than just a word of thanks to Andrew for all his work, and that extends to Jamie Cruz and to Christine Nordhaus for stepping forward. And I would move that we appoint Jamie Cruz, Andrew Simaco, and Christine Nordhaus to vacancies on the Agricultural Commission for terms expiring June 30th, 2019, is it, Keith?
2019.
Yeah, do we need to designate that at least one of those people, Jamie Cruz, is specifically cited as a farmer, or I'll just note that for the record?
We will so note it for the record.
Okay.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Andrew.
As always. All right. Clean Lakes Committee. Got 3 applicants, Steve Sussman, Gerald James, and Marianne Grenier. Anyone here?
I see
See,
Mr. Sussman right there.
Steve, Gerald, Marianne? Okay, sorry, I probably missed that. All right, so let's see, what do we got here? 2 reapplicants, right? And Frank. So let's see, do we have, so John will still be on there for Long Lake. Do you need 2 from the same lake, or that doesn't matter, does it? Because so Frank Big now won't,
It's from each of the lake associations. You have to have one from each of those 4. Do we have that covered? You guys know that offhand? I guess we could do the math here, right?
Long Lake,
Yeah.
how's John? 1 is enough? You need 1 for from each of the lakes?
Oh, one member, one alternate.
we have some at large.
That's right.
Well, we need 1 member and 1 alternate from each of the 4 lakes, and we will continue that with
Actually, I'm a
spectacle.
member at large.
You are, yeah, okay.
Do we know if where Mary Ann was filing for?
She's not to Adelante, so I doubt she would be in the Mattawanakee.
Monarchy.
Right. We need another member from the Mattawanakee Association.
Well, we have one from the Mattawanna.
No, we need Long Lake.
Chuck Bush.
Chucky Bush and,
Okay, right.
Scott.
Yeah, you've got 3
3.
terms ending. You've got Stephen's term,
Which is,
Gerald's,
he's staying, okay.
and one
Carrie's-
other. And the one other is...
Frank, oh, it's Frank.
Is
Yeah, Frank.
Long Lake member alternate.
Okay, and Mary Ann lives on Tehadawon, she could have, but Long Lake from the back, does anyone happen to know?
what's that?
Mary Ann Grenier, where in Tehadawon?
I don't know who that is.
I think she's a new candidate,
Yeah.
is she?
Yeah, 76.
She was interested.
Some of those properties do abut Long Lake, that's what we need though, is we need to follow the bylaw, we need an alternate from Long Lake, right?
I think so.
That's offered by their association.
Yes.
We have John Folsom. He's the primary, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
You had a
Secretary
Frank,
is your alternate.
See, for the neighborhood members, they have to be nominated
By
by
the
their
association.
association, so...
so we probably ought to
we don't-
appoint Jerry and
Right, we-
Steve tonight,
Yeah.
and keep the other one.
These 2 applications are in order, they're
Yeah.
reappointments, we don't have
Right.
any other nominations to fill any other positions.
Well, I have no problem nominating Steve Sussman and Jerry James for terms on the Clean Lakes Committee for a term expiring on, same period, Keith,
June
June
30,
30th, 2019.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. So you're on the Long
Yeah.
Long Lake Committee?
Yeah, I can reach
so
out to them.
Why don't you reach out to them?
Yeah.
I'm disappointed, no questions.
We know your expertise.
You have to take yes for an
Watch
answer.
the White Sox. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your commitment
Thank you.
on the committee.
And,
Both of
yeah,
you.
Clean Lakes Committee was our hero this year. I tell you,
Absolutely.
bringing forward the,
Money for Mill Pond.
yeah, saving giving us a strategy for keeping hope alive for that $2 million in federal funding for Mill Pond. That's great. And the startup money that they were recommending, that they've recommended for the stormwater. So those are
One of the
both
things,
great.
if you're into the money,
we
once
are.
the feasibility study is done by the Corps of Engineers, I've been looking for grant money from other sources. As soon as that feasibility study comes in, that means that $2 million from the Corps of Engineers will be put up. And as soon as that's put up, it shows feasibility to the state. And I have appointments to talk to them once that comes in. And what we're really looking for, if there's any around, some things like the Ford Foundation, Rockefeller Foundation, et cetera, et cetera. And if anybody here knows of any of those that we can contact, I'll be happy to go down and speak to someone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thanks
much. Looking forward to that.
Have fun. Now I can see the White Sox.
Okay, so I will reach out to Long Lake and ask them for a
Alternate.
alternate, or and see if Marianne can be that alternate, depending on where she is. Okay. Okay. That brings
Somebody should explain to her what's going on too.
Marianne, yeah. Yeah, I'm happy to reach out to her. First ask, maybe she is Long Lake, and then we'll go there. Okay, all right, so that brings us to Cultural Council.
Oh, Mary Ann's here too. I guess we can make her happy at least once tonight.
Yeah, there you go. So, let's see. 3 positions.
So we're only filling one. This is an easy one.
I think this one is her preference.
Well,
Number?
yeah, so we could,
Make this appointment.
yeah, because Meg's application came in, I
Came
see
through
her,
late.
saw her here tonight, she's here somewhere, Meg Lowe.
Meg
There she
Lowe.
is, yeah.
Oh, hi.
And, well, okay, so we could fill 2 of the 3, right?
Looks like
Yes, you
it.
could, yeah.
All right, so let's see. So you decided to reapply?
Yes.
Yes. Great. How are you liking it?
Good.
Good,
It's
yeah.
a worthwhile thing to be doing.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, thanks for raising your hand again. Certainly appreciate that.
Is this a 3-year term?
It's a 2-year term,
2-year
actually.
term.
Yeah, the statute is peculiar, it only gives 2 years.
Okay.
Really?
Isn't it 3?
Isn't it?
19?
Well, there's 2 consecutive terms.
Oh, I beg your pardon, okay, that's where the 2 is, yeah. 2 3-year terms,
2, 3.
Oh,
limited
you
6.
can't, you have to get off after 2
Yeah.
terms, right, okay.
So it is a 3-year term.
So it's a 3-year term.
Okay.
Now, Meg, you don't happen to know Mary Ann Grenier, do you?
No.
Okay. Well, I'm prepared to nominate both of them, both
Have at it.
Meg Lowe for reappointment and Mary Ann Grenier for positions on the Cultural Council for terms ending, and we determined it is a 3-year term?
Yes, 3-year
Okay.
term.
For-
I stand corrected.
Yep, terms
I'll give you back a
expiring
year.
June 30th, 2019.
Second.
So moved and seconded, all those in favor say aye? Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
That brings us to Finance Committee. So any Finance Committee?
But can I ask the point of, on the contested ones, are we going to wait for a full board to make those?
That's
or
up
what's-
to the board.
What's the preference? I'm the new
I
guy.
mean,
here.
we have in the past said, wait for a full board, I mean, but folks are here tonight.
I don't mind interviewing people,
Yeah.
I just,
Do what we did with the last one, interview now, and you can come back again.
yeah, I mean, I
Or is it-
can make my decisions, I just know that both Chuck and Joe would probably wanna, have their voice heard.
For both, I know, Finance Committee
What's the
and
other one?
2 of them, I think, that right in the
PMBC.
PMBC. There's no other, the other ones, historical and ZBA, there's no hot and
Well, as far as the ZBA, there was another vacancy that occurred,
Okay,
the passing of Mr. Joyce.
right, should have
We need
recognized.
to, yeah, we need to advertise that.
Re-advertise that up, so
Yeah.
we won't take any,
Hold off
well,
on that one.
Right.
I wouldn't take any action on
We have
that.
some full members though, don't we?
Let's see.
Let's see.
Sherry,
We had some
Ellen,
full members who were,
Sherry, Ellen, and Rod. That looks like.
yeah, I don't think we have any competition for the full members. I think it's just the reapplications.
ZBA.
Is that how that worked? Let's see.
Why don't we at least, Madam, if I, Chair, I might suggest to take care of the non-controversial ones, and maybe as we do them, either Joe or Chuck will come back.
Yep.
Okay, so we're gonna hold on Finance Committee for the moment.
Historical Commission, perhaps?
Yep.
That's Andrew
Yeah.
once again, isn't it?
I'm not up this time.
Historical Commission.
Yep, Donna White. Is Donna here?
Donna?
Oh, that's very sad.
Okay, so she's a reapplicant. John Ledger, I saw John, hey. Okay. And so, John, you're not reapplying? Or you are reapplying?
Yes.
What's going on?
Yeah, we get, this is,
Am I on historical?
yeah, it should be John and Donna, but the sheet has Andrew
Oh,
down
we've
here.
got the wrong.
Yeah, I wasn't
So
making
that's what
that
you meant,
up.
Andrew. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
but you really did apply for that. Okay, never mind.
Yeah. You're already on and your term's not up, right, Andrew?
No,
Correct?
it's, I think I'm 2018.
You're right.
Okay.
So John
okay.
Ledger.
Yeah, John Ledger and Donna White. Yeah.
All right, fantastic. Historical, okay, well, hi, hello. So I know from my perspective, I know John really well. We worked on the 300th committee. He's a passionate member of our community. I have all really good things to say about him. I could go on all night, so I'll be quiet. Board members, you want to ask any questions?
Well, first, sorry for the loss of your sister. To you and your family. We appreciate you coming back. I'll just ask the question to both of you. You want to come back, excuse me, what do you see in the horizon for the Historical Commission?
Well, 13 years ago, it was my goal to have, I taught over in Concord, and the Concord third graders were introduced to Henry Thoreau on the third grade level. And 13 years ago, it was my goal to have a sense of community, a sense of place given to the third graders here in Littleton. So my goal was to have Hannah Perkins Dodge written into the third grade curriculum to give a sense of pride, a sense of community to our third graders, because she's one spectacular person. And my other goal was to have a school named for Hannah Perkins Dodge. Well, I accomplished one goal, and that was she is written into the third grade curriculum. And in fact, I went to the third grades, it'll be a week ago Wednesday, and I didn't quite accomplish the second goal. I did, however, manage to get a street named for Hannah Perkins Dodge. I'm so glad that you gave me this opportunity to speak tonight. After I was finished the last class last Wednesday, I had a little boy come up to me, and he goes, "Miss Dodge," he said, "why is your school?" He said, "My father took me to where the North School is." He said, "It is bricks." He said, "I would love to see your school." He said, "Doesn't it make you sad to see your school just bricks?" I said, "Yes, dear child, it does make me sad." He said, "I wish," he said, "that I could go to your world and see a building or see a home that you taught in or you lived in." And it's my goal, as being on the Historical Commission, to give that to the future of our children here in Littleton. That's a goal that I believe in with my whole heart and soul, and a goal that I really, really would like to accomplish, to give that to to our third graders, to give them a sense of place and community, a place to be proud of.
John?
I've had a long time history, interest in Littleton's history. I became a member of the Historical Commission in 1981, 82, and 83. I was quite young then. And I took a break to raise the family, and I'm back involved with the Historical Commission. I rejoined, well, this is my third term here. So I do whatever I can. We have an inventory update that we're going to do, as far as Littleton is concerned. And we like the idea of the small town feel that a lot of people talk about. That involves preserving the historic aspect of Littleton. So that's our goal.
Nice. Thank you.
I just nothing but admiration for the work that both Donna and John have done, and I'm happy they're looking to continue forward. So I'd move, as you point, both Donna White and John Ledger to terms on the Historic Commission for terms expiring June 30th, 2019.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Okay. So that leaves 2 contested and 1 being postponed. So Joe, we were just having a discussion, and actually I know the answer to one of these. So we're on town board appointments. So you arrived at the great time. We've done the uncontested ones.
No, we still ZBA too.
Oh yeah, we are doing, that's right, sorry. Okay, so we're just about to do the last uncontested one. We have 2 contested, PMBC and FinCom. And the question before you arrived was, should we wait for a full board? So now we're at least 1 man stronger, and the question will still be, should we wait for Chuck?
I don't know whether he's going to be here,
Yeah.
because they're having a reception right now, and I think he's going out with his family. He thought he could make it here for maybe executive session at 9 o'clock, so I don't think he's going to be here for that.
So,
That was it, right at 6 o'clock when the whole thing started.
all right, so maybe we do ZBA. I mean, I don't think it's gonna change. Okay, so we're gonna do the permanent spots on the ZBA. So wait, before we do that, I have a question on that. How do you know if someone's applied for, I mean, you just assume the 3 permanent ones that are there are the 3 permanent ones and the 2 extras?
It's been the
are-
board's practice
Okay.
to fill the permanent positions from among
Existing.
permanent,
From the alternates.
well, I mean, if you had a vacancy in a permanent position, it would typically be filled from among the alternates. And you fill the permanent positions from the permanent members if they're, I mean, the
Yeah,
practice
all
has
three
been-
are
it's been to
reapplying. Sherry, Alan, and
reapply.
Rod are all.
I'm in favor of all 3, but just for the record, that's tradition, not law, right?
There's no requirement that you limit your appointments to those who have served, but I think the practice has been that those who have served have gained important experience that we can't function, that we are at a loss to function with if we don't have it, so happy to have it.
Okay, and so we had another full-time member that we need to advertise. We need to get that out and advertise, so we're not looking to fill that tonight.
The alternates.
The alternates, sorry.
I thought I was up for...
You are.
You are,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah,
You're right there, Mark's also. We got you.
but we don't
We
fill
got
that
you.
one tonight, right?
Yeah.
Am I,
Well, you
is my
can,
mind?
Sure we can.
You
Okay.
can do reappointments.
Yeah, these are
Okay.
just reappointments.
Oh, yeah, right, okay, so reappointments then, ZBA. All right, Sherry, Sasson, Alan,
Rod. Saw Rod here somewhere.
Yeah.
Oh, there he is.
Yep.
Mark, and Mark. Mark, you wanna come down? Do we do
And
that?
Mark, you can stay right there,
Okay,
Mark.
sorry, I lied.
Yeah, no,
Oh,
Mark.
you're
Don't
this one.
move. Don't jump up around. Need more ice?
Sneaking down, or how does that work?
No, well, we'll interview him based on our
And
The next ones.
Okay, okay, that's
So
what.
the new applicants will get re-interviewed after we
Gotcha, all
post.
right. My
We
light
have
bulb's on.
Another vacant.
You do reappointments tonight, and you
Right.
fill
New-
vacancies after you've re-advertised.
Which will have two, right?
Correct.
Two, yeah,
Which we will have 2 alternate
Right.
vacancies.
okay.
Okay.
Very good, so you're all reapplying again. You all want to come back. Going good. Yeah. All right.
Rod, you were just elevated to the full-time, right?
Yeah, both Alan and me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. In the fall.
Any questions for, let's see, any questions, ZBA?
Actually, I don't. I know all the applicants, know them very well. I know, I've served with a couple of them for a long time on the Board of Appeals a while ago, but I'm certainly comfortable with the applicants as they stand.
I'll second that.
Yeah, I know them all well, and I feel well-served by them. Trying to think if there was anybody left that served with my dad. Sherry, you did, right?
Actually, your dad recommended me.
Okay. Good.
Okay, that makes
You've been around a while then.
Longer than I like to remember.
All right, look for a motion? So we got it.
All right, I'll make a motion that we reappoint Cheryl Gould, Alan Bell, and Rod Stewart to full-term, what's the phrase for this? Full members on the Zoning Board of Appeals, and Mark Saucier as a alternate member of the Zoning Board of Appeals for terms to expire on June 30th, 2019.
Second?
And moved in second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so now what that means is, thank you very much.
So we have 2 vacancies, we'll be re-advertising and scheduling, and it's about a month, takes about a month to...
Okay.
Okay,
For alternate positions, just to be clear.
Yeah, 2 vacancies for alternate positions, and we will...
so alternates, we have one more month. New alternates, we have one more month after advertising. So we'll see you back. Okay, so that's, okay, now we're back to the same place, which is contested boards, and so the question was, now it is, do we wait for Chuck or do we go with 4?
Just a question, I'm late, I'm sorry. Do we interview the applicant that's,
Since he's here?
because he's here, or do we wait till the month? Wait till the month. Okay. He left.
Did he?
I think you're right.
Okay, well, we'll wait a month then. Okay, so, thoughts?
I think we should at least interview Keith. I don't know what Chuck's on the PMBC. I don't know what Chuck's feelings, if they'll be hurt. We have 4 here now. It's totally up to, I wouldn't have a problem making the appointment tonight.
No, me either.
But it has been past practice where
That we wait.
we wait for a full board, so.
I think we should certainly do the interview, and I'll defer to whatever the board's practice was. I would think that, a member would like to be present for an important appointment.
Okay, that's fair.
All right.
Yeah. All right.
What up, Keith?
Where are we here?
Good evening.
Where are we? PMBC.
So previously, we interviewed Rich Crowley and Chris Hinckley, and Keith couldn't make it, so.
That's right. Okay, so we're finishing off our round of interviews. All right, PMBC. So tell us a little bit about yourself and about why you'd like to join PMBC.
My name's Keith Nixon. I live on Andrea Street and lived in Littleton all my life, and I'm looking at this to be a way of getting back involved in the town of Littleton. I have a good interest. I have a background of construction, so I think I'd be a big asset to the PMBC. I'm retired from the Carpenters Union. I was in the Carpenters Union for 33 years, and I have the pleasure of saying that I did numerous jobs in the town of Littleton, housing for the elderly, Shattuck Street, Water Tower, Newtown Road, Mormon Church on 119, Life Care Center on Foster Street, and Littleton, Westwood Academy, worked on that. And Digital, that was up behind the Magog Mall. I was carpenter by profession, and then I got promoted up to a foreman, and I did the Charles Square Hotel in Cambridge, and I had 2 working foremen under me, and we had like 4,600 doors that we had to install at the Charles Square Hotel complex. I was there for a couple of years, and then I got promoted up to construction super. Worked at BC, worked at Wellesley College, MIT, did jobs for them. And if I could do it all over again, I'd do the same path that I took. I love what I do.
Are you in relation to Chad Nixon?
That's my son.
I graduated with Chad. Too funny, I thought I saw it in the face. Okay, very good.
You got the name right this time.
Better day today.
Plus, I figure this, the fact is, being retired, I'm in town all the time, so drop of a phone call, you know, I could be anywhere in a matter of minutes, so I don't know if that would be a big help for the position, so.
Okay, board members' questions, Mr. Knox?
2 quick ones, Keith. I've known you since high school, but why now, after all these years, are you interested in helping the town out? Just a question, was there a reason that you haven't helped out before because of the workload you had?
Well, I'll be working, and I do have a small little business myself. Took up a lot of time. And getting older, I'm cutting back on the work part of it. So I have more time to get involved, and always had a good interest in town.
Second question just is, when you were a construction supervisor, how many people worked under you, and what kind of roles did you have that you were responsible for?
I physically had to run the whole job. I controlled the job, that's what a super does. And Wellesley College, we had to remodel the domes over there, and we had to have them done in 14 weeks. So I was involved with taking all the old elevators and bringing them up to ADA standard. I mean, the elevators that were there, you could only put 2 people in at a time. So we had to tear the old elevators out. We had a company come in and actually drill a hole in the existing, and we had to widen the elevator shafts, put structural steel in, and have them done in 14 weeks.
Thanks.
And the other thing, I was a carpenter steward, and what a carpenter steward is he's, after the foreman's put on site, the steward's the next person on site. And he has to be kind of universal, so he has to know concrete, foundations, metal studs, drywall, blocking, et cetera, until the building's done. Windows, doors, et cetera. So not too many people get a chance to be a steward because you have to know a lot of things about being a steward. Because you're a steward and they say, well, I want you to go sheetrock that wall. If you don't know how to do sheetrock, you can't do it. So, I like what I do.
Thanks.
So Keith, I know you too. So what do you think your role on the PMBC would be, you know?
Well, the 35 years, 40 years of construction background, I could bring my knowledge of what I have, depending on the situation, I could bring to the table. Because I like to be a team player. I can't do it alone. I've always, when I was a supervisor, always ran meetings once a week to bring everybody on board so everybody's on the same page. And we would look at what the work scope is going to be for the following week. And we would set up different goals, and we try to meet those goals. And then if we don't, we can see what we can improve to meet those goals.
Good organization.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
Sure. Keith, I think you're being modest in one respect. Everybody here knows that, or should know that our biggest, I tried to shut this thing down more than once, texting me, but we're all aware that our biggest construction project in the near future is a new fire station, and you served for probably 30-plus years in our fire department, retiring as 36 years as deputy chief. And I wonder if you could speak a little bit as to what you think your work in the fire service, specifically, here in Littleton, through all offices, would contribute to this process.
I would love, if I got the position, to get involved with the new fire station, if possible. Just the fact that the interest of what they need, and overseeing what they're putting up. If something's going wrong, I can pick up on that stuff. Come a long way. Had a talk with the chief, and he was telling me some of the stuff that he's got coming up, and very impressed. Town needs it very bad.
Were you involved with the last round of modifications we did to the fire station here in Littleton? Were you at all involved in that? The renovations, the expansion out back and that sort of thing?
No, I wasn't. No. I did Shake Lane School. Yeah, I was involved with that. But the police and fire, no, I wasn't involved with that at all.
Okay.
As far as hands-on, no.
Right.
No.
No further questions.
Great. And myself, I asked the one, which is the why, so that was a good education, so, and too funny, Chad, so.
I know.
Chad was one of the, I used to ride the school bus with them, actually, one of the first people from Littleton I made friends with. That's fantastic. Okay, so now we need to make a call. So we've interviewed all the candidates. We interviewed Chris and Rich previously, and now thank you for coming down. We can complete the list, if you will. So that's good. So we know all the candidates, but it is, again, contested, one position, 3 applicants, not a full board. So do we move forward, or are we ready to make a motion, or do we want to wait for Chuck? I think you
You all
said
set?
we wait for Chuck.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you very much. for the
Thank you.
opportunity to
Thank you.
speak.
Thank you. I think based on what Mr. Glady said.
We wait.
I mean, I'm prepared to vote, but I'm also, I don't see the harm in giving Chuck a chance to have his 2 cents worth.
This is an important board as well, so.
And he did want to be here, just the circumstances.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I would say, I mean, if we can postpone that and have a full board to make that decision, and then applicants, you wouldn't have to come back down again if you're welcome to, but we've
They
seen
might
you
want to
all.
browbeat us from the audience, though.
Yeah, absolutely. We can make a decision next time, but we've heard all the applications. Sound good? Okay, did that make sense? Where are you? So basically, we'd like to have our 5th member to make the decision, but we've heard from you all, so you don't have to come back down again. But you can, if you like. Otherwise, we'll make a decision next meeting, Keith? Or can we schedule that for?
Well, if the standard is to have a full board here, we just want to make sure everyone's going to be
That's a
here
good
on
question.
July
Will
11th.
anybody be
I'll be here on the
missing?
11th.
Yeah, I got the week of the 4th off, but I'll be away.
Houston then. July 11th, you'll definitely be here.
Chuck?
Okay, he's given no signals that he won't be. I haven't heard anything. I'll text him while we're here.
Just don't text him.
Everyone will know.
Oh, is that a specified rule?
No, we were all planning on texting you since if your alarm goes off. So.
Yeah. I can't believe, you want to know who just texted me? Your friend Bussin, too.
Oh, did he? I'll take it blow by blow.
Okay,
I thought it was your friend.
Yeah, not anymore, I passed him off.
all right, so do we want to do the same thing with, so the advantage, or the disadvantage now was that Chuck did hear the interviews of the other 2 applicants, and if we start interviewing for FinCom now, he won't hear that, although he could watch the on-demand version. We could get the interviews done, he can watch it on demand, or he might want to ask his own questions, I don't know.
These folks have shown up, I think we ought to talk with them.
Yeah, I think so too.
What do you think, Joe? Huh?
Oh yeah, Joe, you will recuse yourself, right?
No,
No?
I'm taking care of it.
Oh, okay, cool. Sorry, missed that.
Oh, that's my fault, because I didn't get back to you.
Oh, okay.
I talked to the town council and
It's all
I
good.
filed.
Oh, okay, okay, great. Okay, so then let's do that then. So FinCom, let's see what we got here. Let's Finance Committee. There it is, okay. All right, so we've got one vacant, one member expiring, it's vacant, 4 applicants. Chris, who I saw already, Mark, who I saw, Brian, who I saw, Gary is over, Gary is who I see. Okay, great. If you guys want to come up, we'll just do the interviews. Chuck will have to watch the on-demand version. And we'll take a vote on the 11th as long as Chuck says he'll be here. Okay. All right, so I think a couple of things. We don't have any kind of clear recommendation for FinCom, but we did get some thoughts from their side, so I thank them for that. That was helpful. One thing we did want to mention, Finance Committee, big time commitment. There's a lot of meetings, a lot of subcommittee meetings where you have to, get pulled in to represent Finance Committee in the subcommittee work. Big push around the budget cycle from mid-September to January, and again from March to mid-April. So just want to stress the time commitment that's needed for this position and how greatly important it is to our town. So that being said, let's start at the beginning. Okay, Chris, you're up first, and we actually heard from you on the previous committee as well, PMBC. All right, so tell us a little bit about yourself, although we know you, but still, and why you want to be on there.
I served prior to a year ago, 4 years on the Finance Committee. Truly enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to getting back on. Just a little background on my experience. I started out working for Air Public Schools, and I moved on to Chelmsford, as well as Wayland, Haverhill, and now North Middlesex Regional School District. So I've been as close to similar towns as Air, budget-wise. It was a $14 million budget when I was there. As big as Haverhill was a $130 million budget. And then you have your in-betweens, Chelmsford with $50 million, Wayland was $36 million. So I've been exposed to a lot of different towns and their needs, so I have a broad level of experience. Licensed school business administrator, licensed MCPPO certified state procurement officer. I'm also, by my bachelor's in accounting and finance, I have my master's in accounting from UMass Lowell. I've also just recently, this past March, became a certified government accountant, so now I'm CGA certified. So something was to happen to Bonnie on her way out the door, if she gets struck by lightning, I'm more than qualified to become a town accountant.
Or win the lottery.
Or win the lottery.
Bite your lip.
Again, my background is municipal finance, specifically school finance, and I just truly enjoy numbers, budgets, and I've been pretty much exposed to every component of this committee and every single thing that they deal with on a yearly basis. As I said, my other communities dealt with so many different aspects of what goes on.
Fantastic, congratulations. Okay, board members, I guess we'll go with each one individually. We'll start off with questions from the board. Mr. Knox, have any questions?
Chris, not a sensitive question, but a question that came up last time you were applied. The question was asked, do you still live in town?
Yes.
And the reason I asked that is because I sent you something, your last election, your thing bounced back to me.
It must have been the wrong address, maybe Cedar Road. Is that Dogwood Road now? It shouldn't be bouncing back.
Okay.
Did you say physical address or email?
No, physical address. That's...
Yeah, no. I've been a continuous resident all along. There hasn't been any eruption in my residency in town. So I know that was something Chuck brought up the last time. And they really, if you look at my history, voting-wise and residence-wise, I've been a registered voter and resident of Littleton for my whole life.
Second question. The Finance Committee obviously deals with all the financial numbers that are put before and through the recommendation of the board, which direction we should be taking. Do you think the FinCom actually has a place to help set policy, or is it?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. I think that the Finance Committee should obviously lead as far as the procedures and policies goes. I had served with Mr. Glavy as well as Mr. Carr in the past on the policy procedures, fiscal policy procedures, working group. So absolutely, I think that those are should be your lead financial folks for the town. And they should take a lead, I would think, in setting policy for the town.
I guess what I'm trying to say, do you think that the Finance Committee should be giving a recommendation to the board on where we should be spending money?
Oh, yeah, well, that's what I believe, that we should have a bigger role than what we currently have, as far as maybe having more an active role, working with Bonnie as far as setting the budget and then working directly with each individual department, as opposed to kind of, I guess, just maybe like a read-only the way it's been, and not having as much of involvement as I think we need. Again, my experience with other towns, like Wayland, for instance, perfect example, the Finance Committee sets the budget, and all the budget proceedings go through the Finance Committee, and then the Finance Committee works directly with the Board of Selectmen. So it's where I think here it's the town departments are working with Bonnie, and you folks are setting the budget, and the Finance Committee kind of has like a secondary role in the whole process. I think that, I believe that, or I would hope that we'd have more of an active role, because the way I look at it is the folks that are serving on the Finance Committee should be, as I've said before, experienced and have all the knowledge and the skills to understand everything the town needs, and to take a leadership role in the budgeting process.
Thank you.
All right, Chris, so I know you've been on active with this committee. What do you see the future as far as Joe said, the policy aspect of it? Where do you think that the Finance Committee can do a better job?
I think just actively every year, whenever it's, time allows you to, constantly, revisiting the policies and updating them as needed, as state law changes, as state finance changes. You're constantly, addressing your policies and revising them and staying on top of them. I know before this last revision, I think it had been a number of years since the Finance Committee and a mix of selectmen and Finance Committee went and looked at the town's financial policies and revised them and made changes and reworded things. I think that needs to be done on a more regular basis than what had been done in the past. And I think what has been done recently is great. And again, we just need to keep an eye on that and not let it pass every 4 or 5 years, but every year or two to be getting into the nitty-gritty of the policies and making sure they're up to date.
Thank you.
Well, I've had the pleasure of working with Chris, and he's very bright on financial issues and has the town's interests at heart at all times, and enjoy working with him. A lot of, I'll just ask this question of Chris, a lot of the particular value he brought to the table was his ability to read the school financial information at a level of understanding that the rest of us perhaps didn't share. But I wonder now, having, done that in your prior term there, we operate in a system where the schools have, by statute, a degree of autonomy, unlike other departments. So while we're reviewing their numbers, if we come to a point of disagreement, I think it's all important as to how we go about approaching subjects where we have a disagreement, and that's a challenge. So I wonder if you've had that seemed to be an area where you focused a lot of your attention when you were on the board, and I wonder if you could share a little bit of what your approach would be.
My primary approach is to bring everything on the table. All expenses, all revenues, everything that's going on financially in every single department, school department as well, should be brought on the table so that you folks, as well as the Finance Committee, can make informed decisions about where we need to fund things and where we don't need to fund things. I don't know how we've gotten through the past 5, 6, however many years when all the details and specifics aren't there. So It's been difficult to make informed decisions or decisions you feel good about because we're not confident in the details, we're not confident.
But, I mean, as I say, you understand that, by town meeting vote, we're voting a bottom line budget to them. And I fully support and have asked for myself, as much detail as we can, think the town's entitled to it. How do we go about getting that done cooperatively rather than just demanding it and not getting it if you
I
demand
think
it?
we definitely have to get all the involved parties to have a good working relationship. We don't have that. And myself included, I think that we all, the Finance Committee, the Board of Selectmen, and any other department that are having issues budgetary-wise, we should all be on the same page, and have a good working relationship so that we can get to the source of the problem. We can, solve our problems together as a committee, as a working group, and not be in disagreement and going and just finally settling on a number that we both can kind of work with, but neither of us is comfortable with. I think that's what we've settled on in the past.
All right, and a similar type question on a related note, you were talking a bit about the role of the Finance Committee in the budget process. Now, you know as well as I do that I think you do, that the statute's pretty ambiguous, intently so, to allow communities to, in a lot of ways, develop their own process for handling that. And some towns have very specific bylaws about that and others don't. Some have a charter, some don't. And I assume that different communities you work in probably have different structures for that. The goal of mine would be getting more of that codified in our own town bylaw. And I just wonder whether you would, if you have had further thoughts on, what that would say if you had a hand in it.
Well, as I've said before, if I had a hand in it, I think that I just think the Finance Committee needs to have more of an active role in setting the budget and working directly with each individual department, because my experience was I wasn't even aware of what each department got as far as their budget documents on a yearly basis. So the committees that I was a liaison to, they would ask me questions about specific things with budget documents, and I had no idea what they were talking about because, again, we weren't involved in that process. I didn't see those documents. But again, I feel strongly that Bonnie and Steve have done a great job with, the departments that they've handled, strictly on their own. So I haven't had any issue with that. It's basically the school department and the issues that we've had with agreeing to what they need and where they need it. And I mean, it's every year it's like Groundhog Day. It's just, here we go again. It's just school choice, circuit breaker, school choice, circuit breaker. And we just, year after year after year. And what they start with and what we end up at is vastly different. And everything in between, I don't think we have an agreement on that. And again, back to the details just aren't there, or all the details aren't there. So again, I don't think we can make informed decisions that we all feel good about. And, on we go. So.
Good.
I'm all set.
Okay, great. Thank you, Chris. All right, next up, Mr. Tarbucks. Mr. Tarbucks, tell us a little bit about yourself and why Fink.
Sure. And I'll just say, just for full disclosure, Chris and I worked together for at least 3 years together on the FinCom and hold him in high regard. I've been in town about 20 years. I've been involved in town starting way back when on the Historic District Study Committee a million years ago. I also created the town's first unofficial website and used to spend my days coming down here photocopying minutes and agendas and putting them on the web, and that led fairly directly to the website, to us having an official town website. I was a columnist for the newspaper for 3 years. I was on the voter participation committee. I've got degrees in linguistic philosophy and cognitive psych. I hold 5 patents, ran my own software consulting company. I've designed, implemented, and maintained cloud-based financial software for a Boston-based finance company. Basically, we advised we're a large one, bigger, more than $1 billion portfolio managers how to realize greater returns. And just most recently, I organized, after the tragic incident at Ferguson, I organized a community meeting at First Church Unitarian where we got 6 local police chiefs to come together and talk to us about issues arising from that. So that just goes to community involvement. I'll say, I have been on 2 terms on the Finance Committee. After my first term, I decided to not seek reappointment so that I could spend more time with my son. Then I spent another term that ended, I guess, 2 years ago, where I did not get reappointed. I'll say during my tenure, I love the Finance Committee. Bizarrely, it is interesting just to spend your days with these guys, talking the minutiae of the budget. I'll say during my tenure on the FinCom, and this is all as a team member. I'm not saying I did. None of us do anything alone, but during the time that I was on FinCom, you may remember Article 4 in town meeting used to be multi-hour contentious, often shouting matches, and it has evolved into a pretty calm affair. Could not have asked for that better. During that time, we also adopted the set of fiscal policies in cooperation with you fine folks that caused Moody's to increase our bond rating to AAA, saving us roughly $1 million a year. So again, part of a team effort, but small part, saving down $1 million. That's got to count for something. I also championed what I called metric-based budgeting, which was used to great effect by the fire department, where we basically said, I've got some measurable metric of my department. If you give me, Y dollars, I can change that metric to a different value. And the chief presented that to us very convincingly, and the town was able to see that and use it to know exactly where the money was going and give it to them. So I'm hoping, I mean, a few years ago that was kind of a radical idea. Now it's become kind of mainstream. That every department. We're all in triage mode, so it's always I've got I've got $100,000 bringing home in my pocket. Where do I spend it? In the 20 different ways. And you ask the departments essentially to make a case. What could you specifically do with this money? And then we can make an informed decision. With the caveats, Paul, that with the school budget, it's a lot trickier. So, I think I've got a background. I certainly understand the time commitments. I do remember all the hours we spent, but it's bizarrely fun. So.
All right, board members.
Yeah.
Mr. Max?
One thing I wanted to say, Brian, I did like the statement you just made, the talk about being part of a team that brought in the AAA thing. I think if more people think that way, the better off the whole town is, and I appreciate what you just said, playing part of it. Sometimes in election years, you'll hear, I did this and I did that, and it's never been the case. It's the Board of Selectmen, the Finance Committee, and all the boards working together that makes the town function.
Oh my God, and Bonnie and Steve, my God, if anyone thinks they make a move around here without them being involved, they're crazy.
My question would be the same that I had before, talking about policy. What part do you think that the FinCom plays? Does your personal interests and wants play into what you're doing with the Finance Committee? Do the numbers come in, or are you just giving numbers back to us? Or?
Well, it's a great question, and I think there's an important distinction, because the Board of Selectmen is the executive board. You're the board that sets policy, and to a certain degree, FinCom, and to a large degree, FinCom follows your lead. In some past years, there was a sense that we weren't getting clear priorities from the board, and so we would step in. But to the degree that you guys, members set the policy, which is the appropriate thing. Our job is, I think, to say how we can make that real. Now, we caveat that to some degree with, we have policies that have got us these wonderful bond ratings, so I think it's our job to shepherd those policies, to say things like, as Steve would say, whoa, that's one-time money, can't spend that on anything but a one-time cost. And I think it's the FinCom's job to, be that voice of calm that says, well, policy says we need to do this, or our master plan says we should do this. But
that's advisory. I mean, you know, if I want one project versus another project, I lobby for that outside. But when I'm, you know, if I'm here, if I get to be on this table, it's what does the policy say? What does our capital plan say? What do you all say are our priorities? And we're supposed to make that happen. You're the executives.
All right, so Brian, what do you think the Finance Committee can do a better job on?
Well, one place I think there continues to be some disconnect with the school department. I think it's better that, I mean, I can remember years where it was much worse, but I think that's an area where we could have an improvement. And one thing where I think one concrete step that we could do is basically have someone take one for the team and see if there are a number of places where we assign a FinCom rep to you know, be a member of a committee. I'm not suggesting necessarily that the FinCom rep go to every single school committee meeting, though that wouldn't be a terrible thing, but that's quite a lot of work. But I wonder if we could approach the school committee's budget subcommittee and ask if a FinCom member could be a lurker, you know, just to attend, be invited to the meetings and listen in. Because the disconnect generally is most of the departments get their budget requests in, you know, in November, December, and then schools, for all kinds of reasons, comes in March. And, you know, as you said, it's Groundhog Day, we're surprised. I think if we see the same thing happening and we don't do something different, shame on us. And so let's take the proactive step of asking them if we can be involved, again, just as a lurker, early on, so that we're not surprised. So that's one place I'd like to see us change. Another concrete step that I'd like to see us do, and I actually wrote to you folks a few weeks ago, is on the whole issue of field maintenance. I mean, right now, field maintenance is there's a three-party agreement that maybe Keith understands, but it's unclear, I think, to residents who does it, how much gets spent, and so on. So I've suggested the creation of two, since the field maintenance actually gets done, as far as I know, correct me if I'm wrong, but all done by the highway department. I've suggested creating two line items in the budget for highway for field maintenance supplies and field maintenance personnel, and then have basically them be responsible. It's transparent, it's identifiable. Any money that's currently allocated to other departments gets transferred there, and then people can see. And then you can, I mean, I'm not going to touch fields, but maintenance, we all agree, maintenance is good. So let's make it easier for people to see what's happening with maintenance. I think that might go a tremendous way towards diffusing some of the tension we're seeing here. Because nobody wants the tension. I mean, we want to be chill. So those would be two areas that I'd work on, along with continuing to be diligent about protecting the policies that got us the AAA rating. Because they did say, if you guys mess up, we could downgrade you. So that's $1 million third rail we can't let touch. We can't touch.
I had the pleasure of serving with Brian as well for 3 years, I guess the entirety of either one of our tenures on there, and serving years earlier on the Economic Development Committee with Brian. Well, you forgot that on your resume. That was the first economic, no, probably not the first, it was one back in the 50s too, but whatever. And I was going to ask what your approach would be, similar to my question to Chris on the schools. I think you kind of covered that ground. And I heard you speak a distinctly different language in terms of roles in the budget process. And I think, you know, I'll offer my opinion and ask you to respond. But I think we've kind of already sorted out what our roles are. What we haven't done is codify them so that when, you know, little things get, little spats occur, we don't have anything to refer to you know, to back up what should be roles there. And I wonder if you just have any thoughts on whether we need to do anything in terms of bylaw or the more formal spelling out of the roles in the budget process.
I think that would be great. Confusion is what always gets us into trouble. Because I think you said something, and you think I said something, and then we butt heads. I mean, I think we take the lead from the policy documents that both departments, and there are other departments that I'm sure I'm missing, but again, with the team, I mean, codify and write it down, and then there's no ambiguity. You know, you can have a fulsome debate and disagree. I mean, politics can be a full contact sport, you know, but have that debate, but then we agree, and we write it down, and we move on.
Just thinking back to our 10 years together, I know that you are a very effective and a passionate and unique advocate at times, as you say, outside of the finance process. And the finance committee isn't exactly joining a monastery, but it's, it's a role where you kind of, members are more focused on crunching numbers that others are advocating rather than being the advocates themselves. And I wonder if you've given any thought in the 2 years that you've been off and how you would approach, those two roles, your individual passions as a citizen and then the functions of the finance committee member.
Well, sort of, gray hairs notwithstanding, I have mellowed a little bit, I hope. Just with raising a son and trying to be a good role model for him. And the thing is, I think following on the successes that we've had, the successes have been when we've worked together, when we've made policies together. I think we can fix that. That has been a long-standing issue between us and the schools, and I think we can fix it. And again, shame on us if we don't fix it. So, people of good conscience can come to disagreements. I will say it has nothing to do with FinCom, but I would love to see us at town meetings do away with the voice votes, because when you have an impassioned arguments and then they say, yes, no, that just drives us apart. I don't see that serves anything. It makes the splits seem stronger than they are. So even if you don't appoint me, I'll just put that out there. Let's eliminate these yelling at each other situations, because that doesn't help anything.
Good point. I just want to add that you, as a couple of times, different candidates have mentioned things that I know will come up later in the evening when we do our goal setting for the upcoming year. And one of them, which this board has been consistent about since town meeting, is making sure that the individual work on the alumni field is not done in a vacuum, and that we do a concurrent process of evaluation and a re-examination of the budget, and the way we handle field maintenance, the budget, and the way we fund it. So I think there's a common commitment on that. We just haven't figured out the process for doing it. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I say, hey,
We'll agree with you.
make the dollars for maintenance visible, and then people can argue about that one thing, and I think that will diffuse a lot of the problems.
Yeah. All right. It's on our radar screen.
Yep.
Thank you.
Good. Okay, very good. Now I know Gary's next, but we're going this way, so let's just keep going.
You can go next if you want.
So Mark, tell us a little bit about yourself and why you want to be on.
All right. I think, respectfully, so I grew up in Littleton. I've lived here all 25 years of my life. I know most of the members of the board. I think, with all due respect, at the time that I submitted the application, I submitted it kind of, I was actually the first applicant because I submitted my application early after running a failed campaign for another elected board in the municipal election, and I thought that an appointment would be a good alternative, because I am, as a lifelong resident, interested in serving my town. I did put this as my top choice because I felt that I wanted to push myself a little bit, because this was like the highest, ranking of the appointed boards, and I found it interesting that at the point that I applied, which, as I mentioned, was early on, that no one else had. However, I would say that, and I think that all of you would know me well enough to agree, and this is probably not good politics here, but listening to both of these two, I would have to say that I think that I am probably not the best fit for this board, but I think that I had sensed that actually, and wanting to push myself, decided to go through with the interview process anyway, just to hear things, and it was certainly very informative what both of them had said. I do think to make it easier on you guys, especially being short a member, I'm going to withdraw my application for this particular board, but I did want to be interviewed to state that, I certainly found what these two, Chris and Brian said, very informative. I also do agree, I haven't thought of it, but I do agree with Brian about the voice votes being kind of, not only, hand raising, I suppose, would be a little better, but actually, if you think about it, a lot of times you feel pressured to vote a certain way based on who's sitting near you. I do realize that, well, it's not really pertinent, but, it's a good point you made. That's what I was stating.
We'll certainly commend you for trying to stretch yourself and put your name out there and coming before us tonight. So would you like the experience of the interview still?
I mean, if I don't want to waste your time, if you want to.
Sure, what to do. Okay.
If I am
Well, you
interviewing
see you
for
have-
two other boards, so if you're going to
Correct.
just ask me the questions now, so.
Oh, well, those questions will be more relevant to those particular
Okay.
boards, so it wouldn't do us good now, but,
Okay.
ZBI, but you withdrew for cultural as well, didn't
I don't think so. You didn't call me up, but I guess I missed that.
you? He wasn't on the list, actually. Okay, that might be a separate, hold that thought. I just realized that, yeah, we went through cultural and,
Because I thought that you appointed two people for three, I think. Weren't there three openings?
yeah, your name's not on here.
Okay.
But I see that you wrote it in
Yeah.
the
We
list.
still have a vacancy on the cultural council?
I think we do.
You have up to 22 members.
So we'll come back to cultural then.
Okay. I know ZBA, you said you can't do until.
Correct, so come
May
back
circulate.
for July 11th for that,
I
which
can come
Chuck
back
did
that
confirm
day.
he will be here, so July 11th, we can make the appointment. So that's ZBA cultural.
So I will have to reappear on the 11th then?
Yes,
That's fine,
please.
that's fine. I was on the street.
Okay, so we'll hold on FinCom. Again, thank you very much for your
All
interest
right.
in stretching
I
yourself.
mean, yeah, I just, yeah. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, so that leaves you,
Thank you.
Gary. Tell us a little bit about yourself and why FinCom. Thanks again, Mark.
My name's Gary Wilson of 1 Wilson Lane. I'm a lifelong resident of Littleton, third generation. I pretty much since my youth have served the community in one capacity or another. If you want to call that, Donlan said serving the community as a team. But also serving in the armed forces, active Army, and then as a reservist where I retired this spring. And serving in the State Department in the Bureau of Consular Affairs is my recent full-time job. So I continue serving. That's more on a federal level. And what's recently really driven me to this is my retirement from the U.S. Army Reserve, so I have the time. I've always wanted to be involved in the community and specifically Littleton. Though I was a lifelong resident of Littleton, obviously in the service I left and always kept residency in Littleton and came back because I really love the community. So that being said, I do have I have a bachelor's degree in human resource management and I minored in business administration. But that's ancient history. I think we're all have qualifications in some financial aspect. My current job at the Department of State, I'm head of about 36 personnel. I manage, assist on a panel that manages the budget for the Bureau of Consular Affairs for the executive director. So not a large budget as a town this size. I think our budget's right around 50 million or creeping up on 50 million. So but $6 to $10 million budget where we have directors all competing for the same resources, and they submit their budgets. So it's really, I come from a little bit different standpoint of working as part of a team, more so, with an individual agenda. It's really not in me. I don't have, aspirations right now to be anything but a contributing member on the Finance Committee, because I think that's where my skills can best be used. So a little bit more specifics on my job in the Department of State. I work with, I'm responsible for the contracts, all of our contractors, which is several $1 million of basically their work product and establishing statements of work and things like that. And in the end, it's what we submit, as a group. We work together, and what we submit to our executive director that has to make those tough decisions. And I think town politics are a lot like that, if you will. I feel that the Finance Committee is really here to support you, give you the most intelligent information that we can from the conclusions we've drawn from your goals and what you have set for us. So, I know we're going to get into policy questions and how much I'm not saying I disagree with both of you, because I think you have a wealth of experience and you're a little bit more involved regarding policy. But, the policy is the policy, and I hate being constricted. There has to be flexibility in that. And that has to come from the Board of Selectmen, the flexibility that we're allowed when we're determining, our submission of a budget. I mean, that's really our mission, is to submit that budget to you. So how we do that is working as a group and part of a team, and I think it's not going to be just about number crunchers and, the people that are really great at accounting. It's a little bit, we have to have a little bit of everything, and what's important to the community, having that pulse, paying attention to the political climate and how that affects us coming into a political year, seeing what surrounding towns are doing in the state, and kind of, forecasting a little bit, and giving you that information that we come across and that we feel it's going to help you do your jobs. So, there's an Army reservist the last 7 years. I've worked directly with FEMA as part of the defense coordinating element, and what that meant was any disaster, man-made or otherwise natural disaster, when FEMA's resources run thin, or the state, local resources run thin, we were responsible for liaisoning with the federal military forces, all the military services, on what we could provide. We're the most expensive, so we had to resource that. And what happens with the money when everything is exhausted at the state level? We would have to communicate with the state officials on, this is the cost, and coming up with that cost. It can be very substantial to a community and much greater to the state, and how we would break that down. So there's a lot of financial work behind the scenes, as you can imagine, when we're bringing in helicopters to rescue people, and resources and trucks and things like that, and the personnel that's involved with clearing highways and et cetera, et cetera. So understanding how all of that worked in the community, and developing our best cost estimates, and then coming in on budget, and was a huge part of our success, and trying to make it as feasible to the states and local communities as we could. So that's kind of my background as far as where the financial part comes from. Like I said, my initial wanting to do this was driven by, I have time on my hands. Besides really trimming up the bushes at my house really nice, I wanted some more time. Obviously the reserves took up a lot of my time outside of my my full-time job. And with that gone, I feel like it's a really good time to get involved with local government. I don't foresee myself as being a Board of Selectmen or I looked at the other committees, but like I said, I felt this one, I think I could be part of a team that could really contribute to getting involved in really everything we do in the town and how we support the vision and the goals of you, the Board of Selectmen. So, thank you.
Very good. Mr. Knox?
The funny thing is, the two questions I had for you, basically, you answered.
Yeah.
I was going to ask about why involved now, you've done that, and you've already talked about your view on policy. And once again, just one quick thing, part of policy, does your personal interests lie on certain things? Would that influence your choice as far as what we should be budgeting for? Did your personal interest come in as part of your?
It's interesting, it's human nature, for sure, to say, just to say, well, yeah, it does. But the reality is, of a lifelong servant in the federal government, in the U.S. Army, you find a very unique way to really suppress that, to get the mission done, and what's right for all, right? So there were many things that I have done in that respect that I didn't agree with, obviously, what our political climate at the time, at any given time. I might not have agreed with it, but I still had to accomplish the mission for the greater of everyone. So I feel that's the same way, even down to this level. Sure, I have opinions, but I'm also an appointed committee member, appointed by you to support you. You're making the decision, and it's really your, in the best way that I know how, is to support that. So I strongly believe I've made a career of leaving my personal agenda and things out of the way of getting the mission done and accomplishing what's important. And that what's important is what you have told me is important, because you have been elected by the town and they've trusted you for that. So.
Thank you.
Okay.
First off, congratulations on your retirement.
Thank you.
And thank you for your service to this great country. And again, like Joe, I think you've given us a lot of information. I love to hear your ability to take the mission and the task presented to you and following it through, and setting aside personal goals just to make sure that what is best for the town is your vision. That being said, I asked the other candidates about what do you think, I know you haven't served yet, but what do you think you could improve in the Finance Committee as regards to budgeting?
Yeah, I think we're looking at, forecasting and trying to stay involved in current to our surroundings, but most importantly, it's understanding, a lifelong history of Littleton and where we were and where we're trying to go, staying current, attending school committee meetings and some of the other important meetings that take place as much as possible, just to get a better understanding of what's going on currently is relevant. But once again, I'm on a panel or a committee with other members, so it's how we work together and how we develop our differences and create a positive product to you. So I think that my ability to be heavily involved in a team, to want to get down into the menial tasks, to figure out what's the end goal here, what's the end state that we're trying to accomplish as a team, working well with others. I pride myself in that. That's something that I'm deeply committed to through my service and my current role at the State Department. It doesn't get done in a vacuum. You can't make these decisions on your own, but we can provide the best possible submission to you on what we feel as a group is right. And we have to make those tough decisions that you're going to eventually have to sign off on and move things forward as the town. And it's not always easy.
Amen to that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Blaine?
Thank you for applying and for all the other service that other members have cited. I think you spoke in more detail about your financial management experience in your State Department role. I'm curious whether, or what your progression was in your Army service and what you did in terms of, particular missions there. We'll all be curious if there's missions there, but I'm looking for your management activity there.
Yeah, as a non-commissioned officer in the service, I always led, teams. And I, initially came right out into military intelligence. That was what I wanted to do. But I ended up moving into the human resources realm. And then, as a reservist, found this wonderful job where I could, support my community as a member of the Army Reserve in Massachusetts, which is a very unique experience for a service member. So, when the ice storms hit a few years back and you could look down 119 and all the telephone poles are just over, it really hit me. I was really committed to making sure that, the community got the right resources to get things done. So I think, besides the teamwork and working as, managing soldiers on a daily mission and things like that, I ended my career the right way with really being involved in community, assigning the right assets to help different disasters or whatever the case may be in the area, and just staying involved with the state, emergency plans and things like that. So leading, sure, but more so being part of a team and always realizing that you can't solve all the problems yourself. Everybody on any team I've ever been involved in contributed in some way, no matter how small, to the success of the mission. And I think that's how you really have to look at whenever you're involved on a committee of any kind. Everybody has a voice, and the smallest idea can really bloom when, it just has to be heard.
Now, obviously, the other two candidates here, Brian and Chris, have had experience on the Finance Committee. Have you had a chance to look at the town's financial policies or
I have.
that sort of thing? Okay.
Yeah, and that's where I kind of drew into I think we're on a good footing right now. How do we keep that moving forward? I think, yes, there is room for changes or improvements in policy for clarification reasons, or times are changing. What happens in an election year when a lot of things change, and now there's different sources of funding, perhaps, or other things become available to us. Well, some of those old policies need to be dusted off a little bit and reworked. But in the end, all we can do is advise, really, the Board of Selectmen. It's great to have all these ideas, but how we as a group come together to pitch it and why it's good for the town to you is what's most important.
Okay. I don't have any other questions at this point.
Okay, very good, thank
Thank
you. Okay, so what we decided was that for contested boards, which include FinCom or Finance Committee and PMBC, we'd like our full member board to make the appointment. So we thank you all for your time. Chris, I know this is it your third time coming down here? So you can come back on July 11th or not, that's up to you. We'll watch the replay on demand so we can see all the interviews and then we can make the
Well, I
appointment.
can come early and watch it.
Yeah, we will make sure he watches it. Okay, so thank you very much. So we'll,
Thank you.
so
Thank you all
that's FinCom,
very much.
PMBC, ZBA, new alternates, we advertise for a
Thanks for your
month.
service.
Thank you. Thanks.
All right. Okay, we are definitely running behind. I apologize for that. PMBC is up next. It was really good. Yeah. We're very lucky, lots of good candidates.
I go 5-7.
We're on number 6.
I got it.
You got it right there, the last one. This one. I showed all the pictures of the tank, the last
Good
page.
evening. Hello, hello.
I don't think you've met everybody, so let me start off. You've met Greg Carell,
Hi.
Our architect,
Hi, nice to meet you.
and Kevin Heffernan, is the OPM.
Hello.
Right. And their names in front of them.
Yes,
Okay?
we have name tags. So are we doing fire station first?
You're doing fire station first.
Right.
So are you?
Yeah, go for it.
Thank you. I'm Brent Carell, president of the Carell Group Architects. We're underway with the design and working drawings for the fire station addition and renovation. What I'd like to do is give you a snapshot of where we are right now, show you some of the design, where that is. We can talk about the budget. I know you have those numbers with you, and we can also talk about the schedule. So with that, I didn't get into a lot of fancy graphics tonight because we are actually in design development and working drawings. So what you see here are drawings that will ultimately become the bid documents, the construction documents that we're using to bid and build the building. The project is about 21,000 square feet. This is the first floor plan. Foster Street runs right here on the bottom, and this part of the building right here, this is the existing fire station, right there. I should say, this is the existing two-story fire station, and this is the garage off to the side that exists now. The project involves completely gutting those two floors and this area, which is actually an open space. The first floor is going to become administrative space. We've got the secretary offices, a place for fire prevention. We also have we put in a small first aid room so the firefighters can do triage. People can come in for blood pressures, or if need be, they can be put on an ambulance and taken to a hospital. The administrative offices are going to be where that garage is now. The front of the garage will remain a garage, hopefully for the chief's car, perhaps another frontline vehicle in the front. So those overhead doors that are there will remain. On the other side of the existing building, we're building a meeting room. We'll seat about 40 people. Again, it's meeting, training. It, like the police station, is designed the same way so that the public can use it without interfering with the operations of the fire department, so it can be used as a community room or for other meetings. The rest of the building is basically the apparatus support on the first floor. We have an apparatus garage, and we have this row of functions in between the office space and the garage that are things for places to store turnout gear, places to store equipment. We have a watch room, which is not really a dispatch area, but a place for communications. As I said, storage. In the back, similarly, we have some of the same kinds of things, SCBA, that's self-contained breathing apparatus, where they can maintain their Scott air packs and clean them and refill them and so forth. So there's ample storage around. We have a carport in the back, which is basically just an open shed. It's a roof for trailers and miscellaneous equipment that, if you don't want to give up good real estate within the garage, or you don't have room, you can park some stuff outside and still keep it out of the weather. We have a small training tower in the corner. This is basically a masonry structure that allows for training, rappelling, ladder work. We're actually doing something a little unusual. We're putting a steel grate on the second floor that has a removable hatch so that the firefighters can do concealed rescue training and actually in an open area. So they can open what otherwise would be a manhole, go down, pull people through it, and get people on the first floor watching this, people up above watching this. So it's a really, really good training tool, and still allows you to do the things you need with ropes and so forth. The apparatus room, they are 4 100-foot bays, so they will each bay here will accept 2 full-sized engine-sized vehicles. or a ladder and a smaller view. Going to the second floor. The second floor of the existing building is the quarters for the firefighters. We have individual bunk rooms. We have 6 quote-unquote individual bunk rooms. Each room would accept 2 beds if necessary, and it can, because they're individual and operating kind of like a dormitory, it can be any mix of male and female that you have. We don't have a male dorm and a female dorm, so depending upon what is needed, and at the same time, officers and if you will, and firefighters are enlisted personnel. Across the hall, we have a day room, which is basically a living room, a large kitchen, very important thing in a fire department. You know, some of the best food in town probably comes out of the fire department. A dining room and an area for fitness, an area for the fitness machines that they have in the station now. Back of the house, above that utility space that I showed you before, is basically an open mezzanine. It's empty space, so there's actually more dead storage space that's under the roof of the building and above the ceiling of that lower space. This whole back of the station is designed as a pre-engineered steel structure. In other words, we're renovating the front, we're building this strip as conventional construction, masonry construction, but from here back, it's a corrugated steel building with a facing on the outside to make it not look like that. So we're designing it to be attractive, but there's a real value, there's a real savings in using a pre-manufactured, a Butler building or that sort of structure.
And one question on that. Sure. How are the firefighters getting down to the apparatus from the side?
Oh, okay. There's a stairway here.
Yeah.
And that leads right off of the day room kitchen area, the
Yeah.
central location. So the bunks, everything channels down to this stair, which empties out into the
So they're running
apparatus.
downstairs.
Right. There's also...
Is that a conventional design? I mean...
There's also a pole. There's
Oh,
also,
there
I was just...
Just, I'm thinking of tripping and, rushing and steps usually is not a good thing. I didn't see it. I got it.
There is a pole.
I got you.
There is a
Okay.
pole. And actually, we've located the pole, so you come out here and out into the apparatus room on the first floor. We're making arrangements so that we actually have a window on the other side of that pole, so when the Cub Scouts come to see the fire department, they can see the pole, and, that's always a pretty important piece.
Yeah. My glasses.
Okay. This is basically a diagram of the outside of the building. As I said, this is the front, the Foster Street side. This pretty much remains the same. This is the meeting room that's in front, and this is the
So the exterior brick that's there now is going to stay?
It is.
Yeah, okay.
It is. And we're going to match that brick with whatever we do in the back. This is the meeting room. Looking at it from the side of the building, this is that conventional piece of construction, and this is that engineered steel building that I was talking about. And you can see that we have a canopy that we're attaching to it that overhangs the overhead doors, and this will be on decorative brackets and so forth. The canopy is both an aesthetic feature to kind of mitigate the boxiness of the building. It also keeps snow off the front apron, so it has a functional component as well. This line right here, that's just the edge of the shed roof that starts there. So I won't go through them, but we are underway with the working drawings of the elevations and the sections of the building now. So that's the building in a nutshell. Cost-wise, you have the budget that was passed out earlier. This is a preliminary budget. We will have more detailed and refined numbers in about 3 weeks, based on updated drawings and where we are. But as an initial snapshot, the total project is around $8.83 million. That's a $6.6 million construction budget. We're carrying a 10% construction contingency right now because it is a renovation. Normally, we would carry 5 as a going into construction, but because we're dealing with renovation, sometimes you just don't know what you're going to encounter. So we carry a greater contingency. We have an upcharge for a couple of features that the chief had looked for: radiant heat on the floor of the apparatus room, and maybe an epoxy flooring in the apparatus room. Nice features to have. If the budget allows, we would certainly strongly recommend that we do both of those things. They're real assets to the fire station. And the rest of the costs here, we have it broken down into construction-related costs, furnishings and equipment, and architectural engineering fees and contingencies. Now, I want to say that with respect to the construction estimate in particular, we're dealing with 2 contingencies right now, and they're both pretty generous. We have a 10% construction contingency, so when we expect the bids to come in below $6.6 million, and that we have 10% of that. We have $600,000 or so to spend after we start construction for unforeseen conditions, for things that happen after construction. Built into the estimate numbers is another contingency, which is a design contingency, which you don't see right now. It's just in the number. What that is that we're basing these numbers on very preliminary drawings. So the likelihood that things are going to happen as we develop the design that we don't even know about right now. Details, materials, things that haven't been defined yet. So we're carrying an extra number in these numbers, in our construction number, just to make sure that's covered, so that by the time we get to final drawings, that contingency will be 0, because we'll know exactly what everything costs. We know exactly everything that's going into the building. We're not there yet. So there's...
What's the timeline on that?
Right now, we are looking to be on the street with documents at the end of September. Our filed sub bids, and I'll only go into the bidding process if you want to hear about it. It's Massachusetts bidding is...
Well, I'm just thinking we're predicating the fall town's meeting vote on all that, and the bigger the lead-up time on a hard number, the better off we are.
It's our intent to have the bid numbers in your hands prior to so that they can be printed in the warrant. So we've worked our construction and design schedule, or bidding and design schedule, around getting those numbers to you so the town meeting has them, and no time to digest them.
I think what you mean to say is, well, since our warrant closes at the end of September, is that the date that you're shooting for? Or
that would be
2 weeks prior to town meeting, we send out an information packet.
That would be the
town meeting's on November 16th.
Right.
So the bid results would be in hand.
Before the close of the warrant. That's what, the 10th, the 25th?
That was September.
We based that date off of the date that we had to send it to the printer.
Just as a distinction, there'll be the warrant closes 45 days before town meeting. I know you're not going to have the document by then, but we were shooting that 14 days before town meeting, that for which the publication deadline is a few days before, that we would want to be able to have the bid results in that document. So just so we're on the same page.
Worst case, if I may, Madam Chair, worst case scenario, things don't happen, things hiccup, we don't make fall town meeting, it goes to May, right? That's the reality of the situation.
Well, there's nothing pushing that right now.
You never know what happens, just so we know that if it doesn't make if we don't get figures if something happens, we go to a May town meeting.
You need to make the call on that before they put a bid document out, because in whenever, September or whatever, because those bids are only gonna be good for a certain amount of time. And they won't be good until April or
Is it
May.
too late in your
rather.
process to speed up that so that we have a little bit more of a cushion on getting the numbers back?
We're right up against the schedule. I think making town meeting, and, in time for town, for it to be published and so forth is doable, and that's what we're targeting. We can't abbreviate it anymore.
Yeah, but by the same token, the most important 2 weeks anyway, the 2 weeks when the townspeople have to, consider a pretty sizable figure. And I think we're all in agreement of wanting to be, have all our ducks in a row, and the last thing we want is for people to have any misimpression that they're getting something sprung on them at the last minute.
Well, we will be doing, you said, we have an estimate coming out in a couple, 3 weeks. There will be at least one, perhaps two more of those before we're done. And we will have a final estimate before we go out to bid. And historically, with estimates for this, I can point to every one of our projects.
Yeah.
Those estimates have been usually 5 to 10% higher than the actual price. So that we can say with pretty high level of confidence, a month before your town meeting, that these are the numbers you're talking about.
Okay, so I just didn't want to get in the habit of using a number only to have it, change dramatically on us, But if we can say, well, Greg said,
Oh, yeah.
Well, tonight we went from 7 million to 8.8 million.
Yeah.
And hopefully that hopefully that's about it.
Yeah,
So.
yes.
But one of the big things with that number, as we've seen in the past, it's been over a year this past March since we had the latest update of that number. And
Well,
with the cost increases.
That's why I can't get this thing built quick enough,
The longer you wait, the more it goes.
Right.
And there are other components to that too. There's a whole piece of this project that involves temporary quarters. And, that number's still a little nebulous. So we're pinning it down, but, that's taking a bite out of your budget.
We're trying to look at just one winter housing the trucks.
Yeah.
That's right now.
If we go with the schedule that's going right now, we'll be able to just do one winter with the scheduling of the trucks, or hiding the trucks into a off-site.
So pushing it off to the spring does have some bigger significant, other than just,
If we push it off to the spring.
then you're going through a whole nother winter cycle.
We'll be in 2 winter
Right.
cycles. Right.
We don't want that.
No.
Right now, if it passes the vote on November 16th, it's a 60 to 90-day window for us to get into our temporary quarters. So we would actually be into those just at the very end of the winter, or the crack of spring. And that would give us, that buffer of just one winter.
And once construction starts, the place has to be cleaned right out. There'll be nothing there.
Who's Kevin?
Ready.
Our OPM is working on some items to try and shorten that cycle to get them in temporary quarters. So we won't say any more till
Gonna put him up at his house.
Make it work, Kevin, make it work.
I'm trying, sir.
Chief, you had a meeting with the abutters last week. How did that go?
It went well. They saw the picture that's up right now, and all of the wording on that echoes their list of
Their list,
concerns that
good.
were in the document that was presented to the board. They seemed relatively satisfied with it, and they understood as well as for the timeline, that there will not be other iterations of this coming out for their comment because of the timeline being so tight. But we have taken into consideration over the last several years all of their recommendations, their concerns, and it's pretty much has been addressed in this design right now.
That's great.
Where's if I may, where's your heating components and your hot water? Is that, it's not in the drawing, so where's it located?
Mechanical, a lot of mechanicals in the basement?
It's in the basement, the current basement,
Current basement,
and that'll serve the entire building?
pretty much.
And the gas line is coming in. They'll go to gas. So, I just have one, I just have one question about the radio communication, 150K. Is that to supplement or be a secondary for police? Is that why it's so expensive?
It will be the backup EOC if something happens and the police station needs to be shut down for one reason or another. This will be set up for the Emergency Operations Center. There'll be a single station where they'll be able to come in and dispatch fire, police, whatever need be from that location.
Great.
Any questions for us?
Nope.
Anything else you guys would like to share with us?
No more questions?
Fantastic job. Very, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have one question, comment.
I wonder, is there any provision for a public emergency shelter? During one of the storms, the police station was open for people who had no heat at home. They could go someplace that was warm. Is there a provision for that in the fire station?
It could probably be very similar, and the community room would have the same capabilities as the police station. And then as more people find the need to need shelter, then we would open up the middle school. And that's all set up for a shelter of larger magnitude.
Very good. Good question. Okay. All right, great. Thank you so much. PMVC, don't go anywhere. Yes.
Figure it out. If you want to clean that part up, get you some instructions.
Thank you.
You'll say Verizon when you send your email out.
Okay. Alumni Field next.
Has everybody met the committee? What's the rest of our members?
Alumni Field. Where are y'all?
Yeah, Kyle was going to.
We have all but one of our members is here. He's on vacation. Do you want to start with Alumni Field?
Actually, you have a list, don't you?
You should be able to read
There's
it.
a memo there with
Yeah.
a number of items.
Actually, yeah, you take us through it how you like.
All right, I want to start with an old item first, the track.
Okay.
As you may or may not be aware, we're having some problems with the track. It's, we're having part of it come up. And I now have in my hand 2 letters of which I'll be sending to legal. The manufacturer of the material out in California has admitted that he had a manufacturing problem. We have 5-year warranty, so what's done is going to be corrected. But I asked for 2 letters, one locally and one from California, and we have them in hand, and I will be forwarding them to Tom Harrington. Actually, it was going to be Jenny, but Jenny is now on a maternity leave. So I'll send them to Tom, and I talked to him today and told him he would be getting them. So that still is being worked. I know that the school is concerned and we're doing the best we can, but we now know what caused the problem.
Okay.
Okay? So let's start with the, first off, I do want to mention, you have in front of you, you have this in front of you?
You sure do.
That's a new program that Darrell Loraya, our school committee rep, committee has come up with, and it's actually, it's a good tool for us because now we can now track, and Bonnie has helped us tremendously to get this thing, so we can now track as we spend money, how much we spend and what we got left. So for example, you can see, you go down to Cobra Kitchen, Council on Aging Kitchen, we had $29,000 left over. And so now we got their
Wish list.
Their top 9. Kyle has got their wish list. And we'll use it up, but they're going to get some additional equipment and some additional things they wanted.
Great.
So that's, and this works out nice because now you can see what's going on. I'll go through briefly The high school roof, we had $100,000 on that. We've got about $11,000 left. We've had some bad leaks up there that were caused by the snow and the use of either shovels or snow blowers on the roof. So they've been fixed. It hasn't leaked since then, but who knows? And we work very closely, by the way, with the school committee. So projects that they want done are in part of the capital appropriation, but they'll place the orders and we monitor it. So that's why you see the Shaker Lane Univents on there. Town office buildings, not really, Cobra I talked about. Fuel site. If you haven't been down to the fuel site, it's really come along very nicely, thanks to a lot of oversight by Jim and also Steve Moore. We're waiting now for the canopy, which is due in June 29th, and we got about 3 to 4 weeks worth of work to finish that. We're hoping to come in under budget, but I can't tell you that for sure yet, because we've got some other things we've got to add up. So that's moving right along. Let's see what else we got here. Now those were FY15 projects. We're now into FY16 projects, and one is the high school building. We've got some work to do there. We've got cracks to fill in, and we put up a fence. Also, we have
Where
now
are the
got...
cracks, Joe?
Huh?
Where are the cracks?
In the driveway, in the pavements and stuff.
Okay.
It's cracks in.
I've got some additional funding that we had, and we had now finished all of the site work as far as the surveyors and so forth. We've got to finish additional work up at Shaker Lane School. We have to replace the sidewalk. It's not really handicap accessible, and it has a lot of cracks and so forth. So we'll be doing that, and we'll be finishing the street right in front of the sidewalk. Last year we did the parking lot up front, and we also did the play area in back. This year we'll do the front street that comes in from off of Shaker Lane. In addition to that, we also had them do a survey. We're going to fix the street in front of the Russell Street School, the circle. Hopefully get rid of all those bumps and so forth. And we'll do that, and we'll only come forward about 20 feet onto the street. And the reason being, we're not sure what's going to happen with the high school turf and so forth. So we don't want to be paving it and then have to tear it up. We'll also, which isn't in there right now, we'll do a curb cut and put a handicap accessible into the sidewalk, which isn't there at the present time. Town library, we have 2 members on that committee, and Steve, where are you?
He's not here.
Did he go?
He left yet.
Oh. Well, Steve Moore is on that committee. He's also on the finance committee. And we had quite a session last week at our meeting. We're not quite sure what's happening there, to tell you the truth. They want to build a new building, but there's a lot of other stuff that's going to happen. So we're pushing them to home in. And since you're on the committee, you know what's going on.
Yes.
All right. We did replace the air conditioning unit down at the cemetery roof last year.
And what happens to that balance if it's to close out? Does that just go back to the
Where
general
the balance,
fund?
where?
The 4,000 on the HVAC, it says project complete, create memo to Bonnie to
Oh, you mean
close.
for the cemetery?
Yeah, exactly. Does that just go back to general fund or? Okay, just curious. Where we
It
could.
says, if you read it, we got to create a memo to Bonnie.
Mm-hmm.
She knows how much money is left over there. So, and this is the nice part of this report.
Yeah.
And by the way, this report will now go on our website, the town, so people will be able to see it.
That's great.
All right, and
Thank you, Daryl.
Daryl's done a great job to get this thing done. Now you want to talk about the alumni field design. That is out to bid for RFQ right now. It went out last week, right, Tony?
Yes, it's being advertised Wednesday.
Yeah. So, that was, they think we're a week late, but actually we're not. They handed it to us, and we spent one special session going through it and correcting, not correcting it, but adding to it where they had left off. They had taken a couple and put them together. And then we had to send it down quickly to legal, we had them review it, came back very nicely, and it's out. So, all right. Fire station design, you've heard. Paving projects, we got 2 paving projects coming up for FY17, which is about $230,000. We're gonna do some work up in the town hall roof, and also we're gonna replace some more RTUs, which are your air conditioning units. Gotta fill the cracks at town hall. Shaker Lane's gonna hopefully finish all the unifence this year, because I think we've got enough money for them to do that. Castle in the Trees is the next one. We thank the, I shouldn't say that, because we thank the selectmen for appointing us to do that. But I will tell you this, we did get our bid in, let's see, what was it, Friday? Friday, and the most important number we were concerned with, they came in on budget, which is the material. We thought it was gonna be way over, so that's good news. All right, so we got some additional work to do there. And professional services, the town voted that in for FY17, I had asked for that. We need engineering work done occasionally. And we've been quite frankly, we've been big borrowing and stealing money somewhere to get the engineering work done. So we got $40,000 this year to do some stuff that we need to have done. So, any questions? No, pretty sure we got a lot of work ahead of you, that's for sure.
Yes.
Yes.
That money, I just have one for Bonnie, the money from the state you're gonna spend before the June 30th, is
The
that what?
state has already confirmed that they're in receipt of the invoice and they're sending it.
Outstanding.
Yeah, well,
Thank you.
it's gonna work out nice.
Yep, that was 100,000 from our legislators, started with Jim Masserio, so it's good stuff.
Okay, you'll be able to read this on site probably within the next month or less.
Right. And we keep it updated regularly. Thank you. Every so often.
Oh, yes.
Fantastic.
Yes,
Great.
every project, as we pay bills.
Yeah, that makes
So you'll
sense.
see
The
a
numbers
big chunk
change.
come out of the fuel station, because they just sent in a big bill.
Okay. That was a big bill.
So that'll let that go down.
That's
So again,
fantastic.
I don't know if you know all the members of the committee.
I know them all.
Lucky you.
Indeed.
Other questions?
Good job.
Thank you.
Confident in your efforts, great
Yeah,
job.
Great job.
Look forward to this report next year, Darrell, in our meeting. Next year?
Yeah,
Budget time?
for budget time.
Oh, okay, yes.
Yeah.
That's right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you guys very much. Great job.
Thank you.
Okey dokey. We are skipping goal setting. There's some chance.
Yeah, if we need to skip it, that's fine, I mean, okay, fine,
You need about 40 minutes for it.
right.
And you need to
Which you
check.
don't have to.
You need to check
Right.
as well.
Unless the lady wants to stay till midnight.
No, it's just, we meet every other week, and next thing you know, we're into July, so.
It's all right, better than August.
Usually gotten to this by August.
Yeah.
Does that happen?
Better than August. Madam Chair,
Turning the goals into actionable items is one of my goals.
bring it to the next meeting.
Right.
So, I'd like to make a suggestion on the highway superintendent engineer, that this discussion be held off for a full board. This is a change in the way the town does business, and I know Mr. DeCoste has got some opinions on it. That's just my suggestion.
Okay, and speaking of which,
I know you do. You're here and he isn't.
he is saying he's on his way, so we could do the next MBTA, and if by some chance he's here,
Okay.
okay, and if not,
Sure.
skip it. Skip it.
Why would we come at 9:30 at night? What a strange.
Just can't keep away.
Or we
Please hang around and they can come in and vote on
Just do
those.
the MBTA and go right into.
That's fine with me. Littleton MBT, let's do that for now then. Littleton MBTA Commuter Rail Station Parking Expansion Mass Works Grant Application. 8B. So,
Okay, what this is that we'd like to, again, help the MBTA get a grant to put additional parking spaces on its property. And we had intervened in 2011 successfully on their behalf. We'd like to be able to pursue that again this year. It's one of the board's goals to add parking. Senator Eldridge and Representative Arcero can get a meeting for us with the funding agency, but would prefer to have a vote from the Board of Selectmen asking for the meeting. That's the first thing the secretary will ask for. Has the town requested, the meeting and support the funding? So we'd like to be able to pursue that.
So you're looking for a motion to that end?
A motion to that end.
All right.
any issues with that?
Okay, I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to support MassWorks grant funding for the MBTA to add parking spaces on state-owned property across Foster Street from Littleton 495 commuter to rail station, and to request that State Senator Jamie Eldridge and State Representative Jim Arcero schedule a meeting with the OHED Secretary Jay Ash to explore such grant funding.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I still think it's worth pursuing what Chuck had mentioned in email too, that notwithstanding, other towns own their own lots too, make money on it.
Sure, other towns who own their own property to start with, and may have even built a parking lot in the past can do it, but.
I'll bet your Provincetown probably made a buck or two off of parking.
We did, but and I'm sure the issue for us would be the fee that we would have to set in order to cover the cost could
Of
very
purchase, maintenance, et cetera,
very likely be greater than what the MBTA charges.
That may be where we end up, but I think
Yeah, we
it's
can
something
crunch
worth
numbers.
exploring.
Yeah, we can crunch numbers.
Madam Chair?
Oh, yes, sorry.
I was wondering if we were to reactivate the advisory committee, Chief? Was this an issue where we need to have our input?
I'd love to reconvene you, and once we have a plan from the MBTA to look at, you'd be a great group to get reaction from. So look forward to that.
Should we reactivate them before they develop a plan?
Well, we can, but T's not gonna show us the plan first. They're gonna do it first and then show it to us.
Well, but we might be able to get some input that we can submit to them to put into the plan they won't show us. Anyway.
I bet we won't. So.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't be opposed to appointing or reactivating the committee that we had for many years, MBTA Advisory Committee.
Go for it.
Sure.
So what do we have to do, solicit membership, or do you have a list of members, Steve, that were, well, when did you last meet?
We know who the members have been, so we can see if.
There was no expiration on
No,
those
that's
appointments.
one of your ad hoc.
It's one of those, you're on for life.
Bring them back.
They're on until you're not.
Well, you, Dave Derrick was on there too, wasn't he? Jack Cooney?
Well, some of them, big members have died off, but
Yes, Walter Clancy.
So that wasn't the one with the recent one?
Was Keith Carroll in that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one.
Oh, that's a more recent.
Yeah, it was
version.
more recent,
we
yeah,
had
there
them-
was one. That's what you're talking
We
about.
worked with them on the 2013.
Right, that
was
group.
the last time
That group,
we were
right.
actively working with them.
Right.
When we put in the 200 spaces, or the T did back in 2013.
Now, there's new developments going on opposite the station. Are they going to try to do anything to help with the parking? Like the tree farm?
No.
No, the MBT, we advised the MBTA that that property was available, and we even met on site with the MBTA Assistant General Manager and their current owner of Durkee Farm property. And the T saw where they would have, that they believe that they have enough room on their own property, on their own public property, part of the Route 2 right-of-way, to put in additional parking, so that's what they want to focus on, rather than acquire the Durkee, any of the Durkee Farm property. And that's what we're going to try to talk to the secretary about, to get shake the money tree for that.
All right, very good. Moving right along then, minutes.
All right, Madam Chair, any issues with minutes, folks?
No, none here.
Well, I'm rereading them right now, I think they're fine.
Okay. Make a motion to approve the Board of Selectmen's meeting minutes for Monday, June 6, 2016.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that leaves us with 8A. So Jim, I owe you dinner or something, I don't know, but we're gonna hold off and wait until we have a full board for that one as well. So.
You would have been here anyway, right?
Probably not.
Well, you usually come.
Jim always gets put on last.
Well, can we change that, put that item up first?
Yes,
next time?
yes, I motioned that. Am I allowed to make motions?
Yes, you are. You can set the agenda,
Yeah,
Madam
you
Chair.
approved the agenda.
You
so.
said it.
Yes, I'm sorry, Jim, I didn't see it so
You
late.
just pick a date when there's no other early
Million things.
evening activities, or...
Well, I've got security that 11th, everyone be here. I just want to see how it stacks up. Is that too far?
So-
I mean,
Well, some things are beyond our control, but we can make a judgment the week before whether, to confirm they will in fact have 5 members there.
Yes.
Life happens sometimes.
All right.
okay.
Look for a motion?
Look for a motion.
All right, and move that the Board of Selectmen vote pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 38, subsection 21A, 3, to go into executive session to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining, since an open meeting may be detrimental to the effect of the bargaining position of the board with the police union, and not to convene an open session thereafter.
Second.
And then second, all those in favor say aye. No, roll up, that's right. Mr. Knox?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. We're now in executive session. Thank you very
Non-executive
much.
session, thank you.
Can't